Hi!
Hi, what's up, guys? Alphabet
there it
here
is.
with Aimee K. What's up, Aimee?
Hi!
Hi.
No, I just got back from the gym, and before that, I was continuously dying trying to play Cuphead.
Yeah, I like how you spent 3 hours on that one stage, and I beat it in 3 tries.
Fuck!
Chris called it too right before I started playing it. He was like, "Watch, I'll start beating it really easy."
Oh my God.
I was like, "Yeah, I just got through the first stage."
That is so frustrating, but that's just indicative to me that I obviously just got to get better. You were using a controller, right? I was using
I'm
using the keyboard. Yeah, that's just hard.
Hell yeah, it's hard.
But I want to keep trying though, because I'm like, okay, I can't be this retarded that I set my hotkeys and I can't even play. So it's like, ugh, I should probably just practice. I think it's just gonna take some practice,
Yeah, so. It takes time. I remember when I first started playing games on the computer, it was so hard to get used to playing it with the keyboard.
It's weird,
but
and
you do get used to it.
And using both hands, so I'm using the arrow keys, and then I'm using F to shoot, D to jump, and S for the, what do you call that? When he just jets
the
forward.
Dash.
Yeah, the dash. That's correct. Yeah, dash. So I do that, and then it's I even though I set those up, I still confuse them, because in the beginning I started playing with the dash.
Whoa.
That was funny.
Yeah, I heard you from 2 minutes before.
I'm trying to I want to open it on my phone so that I could get into the actual Hangout, so I can get the chat up.
The second to final boss is complete AIDS. Alex B said.
Oh my God, that I'm determined to get through it today. I think I can do it.
Yeah, you could do the first stage. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I'm gonna disagree with that. I'm having a really hard time with Cuphead, but at least the music is really pleasant, and it's really nice to look at, Yeah,
it's very aesthetically pleasing for sure.
Yeah.
I bought a shit ton of Airheads. They had them on sale. They were on clearance for $1 for this big bag. So now I got a shit ton of them. And this is Airheads? a mystery flavor. It's just white. Let's see what flavor it is. Pina colada. Makes sense. Everybody's here. Hey, Marino. Hey, Alex. What's up, TJ?
I'm going to be switching back and forth between the Hangout and my phone, just so everybody knows, because I'm cooking Swedish meatballs right now. So
Swedish meatballs.
Swedish meatballs.
So at some point, I'm going to pull up some articles for us to read, but I'll wait till you're at the
You're computer. Good. You can do that because I can actually see it on the phone anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
But before we came on stream, I showed you this video, right?
Oh my God, that is so cringy. And there's going to be more shit like that pops up, which is super gross.
It's in Australia. I'm going to post it in the chat so people in the chat can
see
it.
It's a privilege bridge. What? Get the fuck out of here.
A privilege bridge.
Yeah. Is it not clear to people that some people just have, some people are born with better luck than others, and that's just how it goes. Sorry. Let's not teach people that they just deserve things because other people have them. Some people have to work less hard. Some people have to work more hard.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
And what they call privilege is really maybe somebody's got it good in life, but that's because their parents worked hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somewhere in the history, you'll find that somebody who was born with money, somebody had to work hard for that money.
You don't know the history.
And then it's what? We're not supposed to give money to your kids? If you become rich, you can't give money to your kids? And why not? That doesn't make sense.
Generational wealth, Alfie.
See, Alex is asking me, have you got any characters you want to get in Smash for Switch? I wanted the Inklings. That was the Inklings is who I voted for the Wii U version. And they didn't get it on that, but now they're teasing the Inklings for Smash in the teaser for the new one. So I basically got the character I wanted. I'm cool with that. So it's Ethan. What's up, Ethan? What's up, Paul?
Hi.
Yeah, Paul. Anytime if you want to come in, you are also invited.
Yeah.
Just let me know. So, what are you making with your
So
meatballs?
I'm standing over here. They're okay. They're being cooked.
No, but I'm saying, what are you making with them?
So there's actually these things called Fresh Prep that Will has been sending me like once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they give you all the ingredients plus a little piece of paper with all the instructions and everything on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they provide you all the parts of the meal. So this one is the Swedish meatballs, and it's with penne pasta and kale.
That sounds good.
So you'd put the sauce and the meatballs on top of the kale and the penne. It's weird. I didn't know it's ever done like that. Maybe they just added the kale to be healthier or something. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in
the
place of
sauce
spinach,
is
because
like,
usually you'd put spinach. I think.
oh, is that what it is? Okay.
I think so. Spinach goes with pasta really well.
Mm. Spinach goes with just about everything.
Yeah, I like spinach raw.
Me too.
I know.
I throw it in shakes and shit, right? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to eat. It's nice and soft. You don't have to worry about chewing it like a cow. Like
I keep buying it raw to like make salad, like because I use it in place of like lettuce. Because lettuce is basically useless. And my roommate constantly cooks it, and I'm like, "Why are you cooking the spinach? Just eat it raw."
Are you saying you prefer spinach in your sandwiches to lettuce then?
Yeah. I put spinach instead of lettuce in sandwiches,
Like
hamburgers,
I like
whatever I
spinach
make.
in sandwiches, but for some sandwiches I like lettuce better because it's crunchier.
Mm. But it's useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
Actually,
just water.
at the restaurants they have this popular start dish now, appetizer. It's called like lettuce wraps. So
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they bring you like half a head of lettuce, right? Because it's all curled and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can like put the meat and the sour cream and your green onions and your cheese and like the other little ingredients they give you inside, and then
Also,
wrap it up into a wrap.
it's like hollowed out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So instead of carby
Bread.
tortilla bread, you're using lettuce, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I would eat something like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't spinach have like iron or something? Roy said.
Oh, lots. Like it's so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah, that's got a lot of nutrients and stuff and vitamins. It's good for you.
It's a superfood.
It's totally good for you, bro.
Yeah. Kale, spinach, really green
Kale,
stuff is
yeah, kale's
considered.
good, but kale can be a bit bitter sometimes. It depends on what you put it with.
Yeah, you know what's a really good way to eat kale is actually
Mm.
if you cook it in a pan with oil and garlic, it softens the leaves, and like with the garlic on top and everything. Oh my god, it's so good as like a little side thing. Because the other meal I got in this package was chicken parm. This is the first time I ever had chicken parm too.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Chicken parm is so good.
So they give you kale, and that's how they in the instructions it said to cook it.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, cool. And then you like douse it in tomato sauce after the oil and garlic. But like I did it like that, and then I just kind of ate it plain. Like I kept picking at it because it was so good. It softens the kale just enough. The garlic is so overpowering you can't really taste the kale. So
Yeah, that's how I
yeah.
used to make kale with oil and garlic.
Mm,
Garlicky oil.
yeah. Food. I'm
But
so hungry after the gym right now. Like
parm sandwiches are the shit. Like a sausage parm sandwich from a pizzeria. Oh, so good.
whoa.
Yeah, like Italian sausage with peppers and onions. With
I
Parmesan
love
cheese and
Italian
tomato sauce.
sausage.
So good.
Wink
Yeah,
wink
I'll eat meat
Marino. Wink wink.
too. Me too. Wink, wink, Marino. Marino was telling me what he ate before, and there was no meat in it. I was like, "What? No meat?" He was like, "No." I told him, "Oh, if I was there, I would have given you my salami."
Marino's a part-time vegan
Mm.
because Nicole's a vegan.
Yeah,
So
she makes him do it.
I think I eat meat once in a while. Sometimes like they're so cute that like go out and get coffee and McDonald's fries.
So bad for you.
Just McDonald's fries. Once in a while is alright, though. Yeah.
That shit don't go bad. That just sits in
Ew,
your
I
stomach.
know, that's so gross. Oh my god, I
Yeah,
saw
when I
that thing
seen
and
those
they
videos
just like, yeah.
for the first time where they leave like fries there for like 3 months and they look exactly the same, and I'm like, oh
No.
man, that's so bad.
They just look slightly shriveled up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, because they dry out basically.
Yeah.
But can you imagine like how that just sits in your stomach and shit? It's like, ooh.
No, it makes me really uncomfortable to think about. Probably why I don't really eat that often. I do once in a while get a craving for McDonald's fries, but
I like Burger King fries better.
yeah, KFC's fries are really good too.
Oh, KFC, the potato wedges. Oh god, those are just so good.
What? They have wedges there?
Oh yeah, we don't have your KFC has fries.
Yeah.
Ours don't. No, yeah, all our KFCs have potato wedges. They always did.
Oh, maybe they changed it. I don't
Mm.
know.
Odd.
Okay. This sauce is gonna take a while, so I'm just gonna turn it down a bit, and I'm just gonna come and if you want to look at those articles, we can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Ethan said, Alf, we have acid to dissolve it. Yeah, it doesn't. Our acids do dissolve it, but it doesn't dissolve it very well, which is why you have poop problems after you eat McDonald's.
poop problems.
Poop problem.
I
see. Aiden posted a tweet here. It says, I love watch AIU make videos about Jordan B. Peterson. He is out of his weight class. He's not even in the same sport. Yeah, you couldn't defeat Mr. Medicare in Kumite, much less Jordan Peterson in an actual intellectual debate. But then again, why is it about a debate? Who gives a shit? Is that like the...
look, David's here.
Uh-oh. It's my threesome fantasy. What's up, David?
That's a good call.
Alpha clone of Alpha and me. That's his
Oh my god, hold on a second.
No, God, David, he's gonna come rape me.
David!
Is this a blood sport stream? No, it is not.
No, it's not a blood sports stream.
Unless
I know those are all the rage right now, but
unless Amy's on her period, and then it is a blood sport stream.
going at Chris all like the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Taking out my shit on him.
The British people are your punching bags.
It's funny. He's funny. But he's used to it, so
yeah.
You know, what you gonna do? May as well take advantage. If someone's okay being a punching bag, may as well demolish them emotionally. I mean, what's the big deal? Where's my damn jacket?
What do you need a jacket for? It's cold.
I had to switch from my hoodie because, well, it is a little bit cold in here. And also because I sweat in that hoodie, like really bad. So did a lot of running.
Smells like you.
Yeah, luckily it doesn't really smell when I sweat, though. That's the beauty of drinking a lot of water.
All right, so I'm gonna punch up this article, and we'll read the first article. This one's a quick one. And then we'll get into the heavy one. But this one is a very interesting. Let's see, stream share or share.
Bro, I don't even have like extra flour to thicken this sauce.
Fuck it, watery sauce ain't bad. Drink it.
It's all right. It's not too bad. It's because I also used coconut milk instead of real milk. I assume that makes a difference.
Yeah. Coconut milk is good.
So I was kind of expecting it to be.
So this is from the Boston Globe, and it's a news story. Where it says, well, I'll read the headline. It says, she found a dating app on her boyfriend's phone, then she allegedly bought a samurai sword.
What?
Oh, this thing is playing and it's loud. How do you stop? Oh god, I hate advertisements. So it says with her boyfriend finally asleep, Emily Javier allegedly reached for the samurai sword she had secretly taped earlier to the side of the bed. According to an affidavit filed by police, the room was dark and she sparked her phone on to see better, to aim better. Below snoozed Alex Lovell, whatever. He played too many video games, Javier would later explain to the police, and now he was cheating on her, she claimed. She knew the signs: Tinder on his phone, scratches on his neck, a girl's hair in the shower drain. Oh, meanwhile, she's a girl. So. Like, in the weak phone glow, Javier allegedly started hacking. So basically, this chick bought a samurai sword because she thought he was cheating on her and fucking started chopping at him with a samurai sword while he slept. Yeah. But the reason I wanted to read this article was because of his reaction to it. We'll get to it. It's a very strange reaction. Lovell woke up to his girlfriend of 2 years attacking him with a sword, police say. Survival instincts, mainly martial arts training and all the kung fu films he watched clicking.
Oh my God.
I was able to Wing Chun my way to survival.
Wing Chun.
He told the Oregon Live in an interview this week over Facebook Messenger, referring to a Chinese martial art. We know what Wing Chun is. He eventually wrapped Javier in a bear hug. I saw the look in her eyes and it scared the living poop out of me. He told poop. I told her I loved her and she was killing me. She needed to call the police or I was going to die. So Javier broke off the attack and made the call, frantically telling a 911 operator she had stabbed her boyfriend. She thought he was dead. You used the sword? The operator asked. Let me see the side chat for a second. Is this a real article? Yeah, this really happened in Oregon, or Blake, which is where you're from, so you should know. When police did arrive at the scene on March 3rd, they found Lovell curled up in a blood-spattered bedroom. According to the probable cause affidavit filed by police in Camas, a Washington a Washington state town east of Portland, Oregon. Remarkably, he survived the attack despite serious injuries. Lovell almost lost the index, middle, and ring fingers of his hand. But in a series of interviews this week, the competitive gamer sounded happy to be alive. I was just so proud for beating this samurai wannabe crazy lady with hate in her heart. I've been preparing my whole life for something like this. This is the part I find funny of his reaction. It's like his girlfriend for like years that he loves attacks him with a samurai sword. And he treats this like he just fought off like some random dude on the street that was attacking him, you know? And he's like, yeah, I'm so proud that I beat this crazy lady with the sword. Like, what? Like, dude, I would be fucking completely disturbed that this woman
my girlfriend was trying to kill me.
Yeah, was trying to hack me up with a samurai sword. I wouldn't be treating this like it was a video game or something. Like, yo, I just passed to the next level, bro. So weird. Javier, who pleaded not guilty this week to first-degree attempted murder. How do you plead not guilty to that? Had also allegedly been preparing. Alex Lovell, known as Biggie, which is making me think he's a big dude, in his local gamer scene is an avid player of PUBG, a multiplayer online battle royale game. As he told blah, blah, Lovell has been recently logging 12 to 13 hours a day playing the game. That's nuts. The regimen also required exercises for his hands, wrists, and shoulders, and also practicing mouse moves and techniques to maximize performance. So, damn, that guy, I could see why his girlfriend's upset, but not to that point, right? Like, not to chopping someone up. But 12 to 13 hours a day, I'd, just break up with him. Why? Don't stab him with a fucking sword. Hi, Chrissy.
Pussy pants. Yeah, I don't really understand that at all.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's so ridiculous. Yeah, it is amazing, David, because this is real. Like, this is how crazy this is what happens when you don't talk to people. Like, you can't even have a fucking conversation with your boyfriend. How are you in a goddamn relationship?
Oh, yeah. Blake is like, you just doxed me. I said, what state he
said it before.
It's a huge fucking state, dude. Like, it's not a tiny state like New Jersey. I wasn't a sweaty nerd, more of an athlete. The fuck is an athlete? Oh god.
Athlete instead of athlete. Get it like esports athlete.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nerdy.
What a nerd. In an interview with police after the attack, Javier, 30, admitted she was frustrated with her boyfriend for staying glued to this game. Then a week before the violent incident, Javier said she had discovered Lovell was unfaithful. According to the affidavit, she told police she discovered Tinder, the dating app, on his phone. Uh-oh. She also noticed scratches on his back, possibly from a romantic encounter. She found red hair in the shower drain. Her own hair was dyed green.
Whoa.
Yeah, ooh, he might have been. But if he's spending 12 to 13 hours playing video games, I don't think he has time to be buying and banging chicks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe while she's at work, like
yeah, maybe when she's not paying
he's
attention.
inviting some chick over to like bang. What if
He's
it's a
playing a
ginger
different
too?
kind of game.
What if it's a man who just wanted to use the shower or something?
That's true. Was playing video games with him for 12 hours. It was like, I'm sweaty as fuck. I gotta use your shower, man. She did not confront her boyfriend. In the past, he had just denied such accusations. This time, Javier went to the mall and bought a samurai sword. I thought I was going to stab him while he was sleeping. Genius. The relationship reached a crisis point on March 2nd. According to a police affidavit, Laval came home but ignored his girlfriend. She allegedly decided to go through with the attack, taping the sword and 2 knives to the bed. Wow. Javier also told police she hid Laval's phone so he could not call for help. When Laval finally went to sleep, she reached for the sword. An interview denied he was unfaithful. I barely had time to hang out with my girlfriend, let alone another girl. I didn't see it coming, but it makes sense that it happened. She obviously didn't want anyone else to have me. So samurai sword. Like
He's
this guy,
so chill.
this
Like,
guy said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's such a strange reaction to this. How is he?
I mean, I get it. If my girlfriend wants to kill me with a samurai sword, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's cool.
It's
like,
cool.
And it's like just the tone, right? She obviously didn't want anyone else to have me. So samurai sword. Like,
so basically, what he's saying is like, if he caught wind that she was cheating, like him using a samurai sword would be understandable to some degree. Like,
like, yeah, it makes sense. Totally makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense, you asshole.
Oh my God.
Doctors were able to reattach Laval's fingers where they were nearly hacked off at the base. He also suffered wounds to his feet, legs, torso, neck, and head. God damn, she chopped every part. His right arm is currently in a cast. Members of the local gaming scene set up a GoFundMe page for his medical bills. The fund is just $2,000 shy of the 10,000 goal after 10 days. That's not bad, though. He got $8,000 to help him out. Gamers really like helping each other out, I guess. Javier remains in custody. Her attorney did not return an email for comment. The feeling I had when I won the fight with my bare hands is just absolutely the best. Like, what? I've played all the sports, won big games, landed some decent tricks on my snowboard. This was better. So it's like, yeah, he took it. He's taking it as a game, you know? That's what she looks like. What the hell is that?
Loud? Can you hear that?
Yeah, what is that?
Why am I not muted?
Like making. Oh, it's like, yeah, it's feedback because you have both of them on.
Okay.
But yeah, but what do you think of that article? That's crazy, right?
I'm more just like shocked by his reaction.
Yeah, that's the part that, like it's crazy enough that some chick got a samurai sword and hacked up her boyfriend, but it's another thing to see his reaction to be like if it was a video game or something. So strange.
Totally, it totally makes sense that she would want to come back and slice me up with a samurai sword if she thought I was cheating. Like,
oh my God. Billy said Lorena Orenishi Bobbitt. Do you know who Lorena Bobbitt is? You might be too young for that.
I only remember the second part of that because of is it Kill Bill?
Nah. Oh, Orenishi? Yeah, that's from Kill Bill. Lorena Bobbitt was this Ecuadorian chick that was living in America. She married a white guy. And she found out he was cheating. So while he was sleeping, she grabbed his dick and chopped it off with a fucking kitchen knife and threw it out the window, and it landed like in the
she didn't throw it in the garbage disposal?
No, I think she threw it out the window, and it was like in the grass outside.
There's a few dick cutting stories out there about some lady who like chopped her husband's dick off and just threw it in the trash. Like,
oh shit!
Oh no!
Yeah, it was huge news here in the U.S. Like I think it was like in the early '90s, and they eventually reattached it, but it was all fucked up and shit. But she got deported eventually after the trial, so she's back in Ecuador.
Okay, I'm switching again.
Police dog found it. He turned into a porn star. Yeah, I remember it became like this big like thing for him to do porn, and everybody wanted to see it because they wanted to see what the reattached penis looked like. Yeah, what a weird weird people out there. You get your dick cut off, so you start making porn. Like, so strange.
What would be so exciting about that? Not very much. Is there like a fetish? Is there a dickless porn thing?
No, I mean it got reattached. I think everybody just wanted to see. They paid him like $1 million to be in it too, or something like that. But everybody just wanted to see what a reattached penis looked like.
Mm.
And that was like the whole thing. And it was a little off.
Probably super fucked up.
Yeah, it was like a little off, like it was crooked at the cut point, I guess.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I didn't see it, but I had it described to me, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to see a fucking scarred up penis." Like,
yeah,
for what?
I'm all right.
No thanks.
Oh my goodness. Dude, bitches are crazy.
Yeah, they are. That's because bitches ain't shit but hoes and
Hoes and
tricks.
There's a Matt Good version of that song that's like so funny because the guitar is really slow and it's all acoustic. Have you heard it?
Nah, I never heard.
I have to find it for you.
Yeah, you can send it to me.
Yeah. I'm changing again.
Every time you turn off your camera and turn it back on, you're gonna have a different outfit on.
Well, it's always gross to like hang around after you go to the gym, right? Because like my workouts are no joke. It's not like I'm like going there for vanity. I'm going there to work out. So
let's see. Where's the other article I had? Oh, this one is.
Too bad sound doesn't play through Google Hangouts.
Yeah,
and we can't watch that cringy ass.
Yeah, I totally would have been down to watch that. It's so cringy. But forgot what it's called. I was gonna say if anybody wants to search it, I posted the link in earlier, but if you guys want to watch it, you could find it under Privilege Bridge Rap. It's from like some Australian kids show. Rap. Yeah. And it's from what the hell? Oh, never mind. It's from like this Australian show for kids, and it's it's like a little really cringy fucking rap they do about privilege and stuff. Hey, Carrie. Carrie Waska.
Okay, I'm like, Carrie, dude, she's because I thought about the other Carrie.
So yeah, that would have been weird.
Out for a second.
Oh, it's sad because she loved when we would stream together.
She was awesome.
Yeah, every time we streamed together, she was like, "You guys are the best together. I love your streams."
Isn't it so weird though, like to think about how like when she died, it was super weird.
Yeah, it was.
Like I didn't know how to process it initially because it was like, okay, I've never met this person, but every time that I've like talked to her or had any kind of communication with her, it was always really nice and pleasant.
Yeah, she's very nice person.
When you hear that someone like that dies, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like you don't know them on person, but you interact with them sometimes on the internet, and they were really nice.
I felt like I knew her, and that sounds
really weird, that's what it is. And she left comments on my videos. Every video I posted, she'd leave a comment like, "Great video," blah blah. She was always so positive, and complimentary.
You don't forget the people who are like genuinely,
genuinely
nice and positive. You just don't.
Johan.
I'm almost in here.
Johan, Amy's making Swedish meatballs.
Johan!
You should judge her on her Swedish meatballs.
Well, I'm already failing because I didn't use regular milk, right? I used coconut milk.
Coconut milk. I would use coconut milk. I love coconut milk.
Yeah, me too, but it's not like the sauce isn't thickening like it's supposed to because of that. So.
Yeah, true.
But
Marino. Why isn't Marino in here? I invite him and he just doesn't come. It makes me want to cry.
He just swerves on us all the time.
Yeah, and then he says, "You guys never invite me." Oh.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll let him off. I'll let him off the hook today because he had to hear me screaming playing Cuphead.
Yeah, that was funny. You and Chris, both of you were like, "What the fuck?" Fucking shit.
Yo, man, that game, like, it's so frustrating because those things just come out of nowhere. Like constantly. It doesn't stop.
yeah.
And if you
It's a
go
constant
backwards,
going.
which for some reason I thought it was a good idea to like go backwards and shoot all of them, it fucking isn't. Don't
No.
do it. And they
No.
just keep coming anyway. So it's like, ugh. Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
let's get on
let's do
to
it.
the next article.
do
This
it.
is from, I'm going to warn you now, the trigger warning. This is from BuzzFeed. So,
Oh no. All right, let's do it.
all right. BuzzFeed. There's an online harassment campaign underway against people advocating for diversity in comics. Creators and fans are pushing for more representation of women, racial diversity, and LGBT characters in comics. But they've been met with hostile backlash online. Dun, dun, dun. An online harassment campaign in culture war called #ComicsGate is underway against yeah, it's like Gamergate, but now with comics. And you know, they always take it as like, it's funny because like they take it as a harassment campaign, but they're not set up to be harassment campaign. Obviously,
they never were.
Yeah, but obviously, no matter what you do, that you make like a hashtag like activist kind of thing, you're always gonna find people that there's always gonna be trolls in it, you know, no matter what side is doing it. But it's not like they're set up for that reason. Like this whole Comicsgate thing is happening because these people are pushing their political agenda into these comics.
Yeah.
And the comics are suffering because of it. You know,
exactly.
The comic industry is dying off now. There's comic shops closing everywhere because Marvel won't drop this PC fucking bullshit. So, but you know, so they made this hashtag Comicsgate trying to get the comic book company's attention to say, you know, hey, you know, your comics are starting to suck. Do something about it, you know. But yeah, these people take it as harassment. And I'm sure I'm not gonna say that there's nobody harassing these people. You know, there's always somebody harassing somebody, right? Like,
yeah,
that's just the way it is. So obviously some of these people are going to end up harassing them, but you got to know that that's not the whole purpose of it, you know? So, pushing to diversify comic book industry with trolls. That's the problem. They're not pushing to diversify the comic book industry. They're pushing to force diversity upon the readers, not even the industry, upon the readers, you know?
Because the character that, like, they think that people who don't dress like them and blah 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 can't relate to them. But the thing with comic book characters is like, you have to pay attention, like you should in real life, to certain aspects of their personality, which are generally universally relatable characteristics for people. You know what I mean? Like, these people make identity, like the whole fucking identitarian bullshit. Like, I can't stand it. It's super annoying. Everything has to be about you. Oh, the character doesn't have the same hair color as me, or they're not the same, like, fucking 1/4 Scottish, 1/4 this, 1/4 that, blah 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 that I am. Like, it totally takes away from the story. None of that shit matters. All that matters is the complexity of the character and the fucking artwork. If you're looking at the comic books, why does it matter if it's a male or female?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
And the worst thing is when you're reading a comic book or watching a movie or anything where the character has to constantly say, well, as a lesbian Latina woman, you know,
like, who cares?
Why do you have to constantly mention who you are? Like, nobody does that. Nobody walks around all day saying, well, as a, you know, I don't go around and tell people, you know, I'm Peruvian, so I can say blah, blah, you know, like that would be retarded for me to constantly go around telling people I'm Hispanic or Peruvian.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, it's just dumb. But all right, let's continue. Several comic superfans and creators are calling it a dark evolution of Gamergate controversy that targeted women participating in the video game culture with abuse. They didn't target women. They were targeting men too. They just targeted anybody who was bringing down the industry, you know, making things worse for the actual fans. Dances and Undies just said fans of diversity, but not comics. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's people who are fans of diversity. They found another media that they're like, oh, you know what? Let's get in this and bring diversity to this. They don't really care about the comic book industry. And if they did care about the comic book industry, they would realize that they're killing the industry.
If they cared about anything, they would understand that, like, diversity of thought is what's important to them. It's like diversity of skin color. Yeah, exactly.
And it is killing the comic book industry. The sales are dropping drastically in the last years. It's just been a slow decline, but it's declining. Comicsgate trolls use racist, sexist, and sometimes threatening language to intimidate people they call SJWs or social justice warriors, essentially anyone they believe is advocating for diversity in industry. Now, their problem isn't the advocating of diversity. Like I said, it's the forceful diversity through the story. You know, it kills the plot. If you're focusing too much on the moral in your story, then you're lacking in plot. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
As if you're supposed to focus on the plot, and your morality, or the theme you put in the background, is supposed to be subtle in the background. You're supposed to get it.
Dude, I also feel like writing stories is difficult, and if your central focus is the identity politics part of that, it takes away, unless you're talking about, like, again, the actual complexities of being a person that they're trying to convey through a character. It's just not interesting. Nobody cares unless it's central to your character somehow, that this color or that color about you is the story. Nobody cares about that. That's
the point. And especially with like Marvel and DC, they are specifically superhero comic books. People don't read superhero comic books to hear about the person's trouble with being a lesbian or being black or anything. Like, you read that for action and fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't read it for those things. And if you're lacking in action and fun and any type of conflict, then you're just, the story's boring, which is what's happening now. I've read some of these comics, and the characters are basically Mary Sue characters, and they just beat all the villains in one punch. And then it goes back to them talking about being a lesbian or being, black or Latina. And it's like, yeah, it's not what I read this for. That's boring. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, I don't understand why people even want that in comics. Like me, I'm Hispanic, so why would I want to read about the troubles that Hispanic people
face? But the thing is those people are fucking like racist, sexist, all those things. Because for me, I don't care if I read 10 comic books where a dude is the protagonist or a woman is the protagonist. As long as the character development is good and the character is interesting, I don't care if they're white, black, Asian, green, polka dotted. Like, I don't fucking care. Let's get on with it.
What's even funnier is Marvel already had diversity.
Yeah.
Like, they already had female characters and black characters. And now these SJWs come in and created new characters, taken the old characters and changed them to like either female version or a person of color and stuff. And when characters like that already existed, why instead of doing that, why weren't they pushing for people to buy Black Panther comics,
right,
or Miss Marvel comics? Those already existed. You could have bought female-led comics or black-led comic books, but they didn't. They just wanted to infiltrate the company and push and change the characters that were already there. It's ridiculous. So, let's see. Most of the troll, blah, blah. Yeah, some use hashtag Comicsgate in their bios. YouTube. Oh, wait, I think I skipped something here. Yeah, sexist, JW were in the industry. Some of the messages are overt, while most are cloaked in innuendos and make inside references to the comics world that outsiders would find confusing.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's pretty funny. That might be them just looking into
that is them.
Yeah, more than what the people are saying. They're not saying anything cloaked in anything. Most of the trolls are anonymous, living in Twitter. Some use hashtag Comicsgate in their bios. YouTube, private Discord channel. Well, if it's a private Discord channel, then what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly.
And message boards used by far-right supporters of Donald Trump. Dun, dun, dun. They swarm people who publicly support initiatives from larger publishers such as Marvel and DC to diversify. The trolls say diversity weakens the quality of comics. That's not what they say. They're just taking it the way they want to take it.
No, it's not the fucking trolls. It's the numbers and the qualitative data that is available that shows that the diversity you guys want does actually weaken the quality, not only of the comics, but of the companies, of the revenue. It is like a clear indication by numbers that this is just not a good plan for them. And people care about making money too, They never needed to worry because they make good comic books already. People buy that shit because it's good. You don't need to add all this other stupid shit on top.
Yeah. right before this, comic books were doing great, and Marvel and DC were kicking ass. And then this happened, and everything's starting to fall. Like little small mom and pop comic book shops are closing, like by the hundreds all across America. And it's like fucked up because Marvel's like 50% of any comic shop's revenue, you know. So there's this comic book right now called America, and it's like this lesbian Latino woman.
Oh
and
my fucking God.
And the person they gave to headline this comic book that they're pushing as like their new huge comic book. Well, this was like last year, but still, is a lesbian Latina woman who just graduated college. You know, like she's never written a comic book in her life. You know, she just came out of college for writing. Like she doesn't know any of this stuff. And they made her the main writer of a headline comic book. You know, like this would never have happened like 10 years ago. You had to work.
Yeah, but you know why? It's because she's fucking Latina.
Yeah, and that's what it is. They're just basically a diversity hire. It doesn't matter if they're good or not.
It's just the worst. It's like, let's toss merit out the window. Somebody who's actually going to provide you with quality work, fuck them. They're not Latina, and they're not fucking, they don't have fucking blue eyes or whatever the fucking other stupid thing that's going to come up next. Yeah, oh, you're not a woman and you're not Latina, so sorry. Bye.
And then meanwhile, all these like comic book writers that have been there for like 20, 30 years are getting pushed out. And these are people who had to work their way up from the bottom, you know. They didn't just jump in and get put in headlining a comic book right off the bat, you know. All right, let's see. When asked about Comicsgate, a Marvel spokesman said, Marvel has and will always promote an industry of inclusion and respect. DC Comics didn't return a request for the comment. Good on you, DC.
Yeah, good on you. I hope that's on purpose.
Now, DC does do it, but not to the extent Marvel does. Like DC has been getting a little SJW-ish, but they're not as bad as Marvel at all.
Yeah.
Marvel's been pushing it real hard and not wanting to stop, even though they're.
But you know why, though, right? It's because Marvel's owned by Disney now.
Yeah, they have the backing for it. But there's got to be a point where Disney says, "Hey, you guys are fucking bleeding money. Like, you know, you got to do something."
Yeah, that's true, and they
will. It's got to be soon.
When they notice the difference in their profits, they definitely do try and fix those issues because obviously these companies want to make money, right? That's that's a huge goal.
They're gonna be like, dude, you guys aren't making any money. You need to do something.
Yeah, but I kind of think like I kind of really wish that Disney didn't buy Marvel because I feel like Marvel has to appeal a little bit more to like a family-friendly kind of crowd as opposed to like. Well, I guess they had Deadpool, and that was pretty fucking.
No, they let the comic book industry part just run itself. They don't really influence the comic book part.
No,
they let them do what they want.
See, my concern was they would because, like, remember how we were talking about Iron Man, and I was like, I don't fucking like Iron Man 3 because you could tell that was exactly before Disney, like, right when Disney bought Marvel, and Iron Man 3 came out. As soon as I watched it, the first thing I thought was, you can fucking tell that Disney bought Marvel at this point. You know what I mean?
That was my favorite one too.
Gay.
Me and Chris were both. I remember we had this conversation with you.
Yeah, I think I need to watch it again. I will do that, but like,
it's the one that makes Tony Stark seem most human. That's why I like them.
I like that. But you know what I think ruined the entire movie for me? Spoiler alert, people. Anybody who hasn't seen it, but I doubt it. But you know, at the end when Pepper Potts just fucking puts the iron arm on and like the movie ends because she does that, I was like, what a fucking cheap ass easy way to end this. Like, I love Stark. Tony Stark is like my favorite. I like Robert Downey Jr. I think he did a great job and I just love it. But like that ending was so
the second one was kind of like that too. They fought like Whiplash at the end, and it just kind of ended. Like they beat them super easy.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's the whole movie is building up to that part, and that was the ending. The first one was fucking the best, though, I think. It was really good.
But
I like Doctor Strange. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
What's good is the movies don't do that, and I don't know why they don't take the example of the movies. The movies are kicking ass. They don't really do much of this SJW stuff. They focus more on the plot, and then maybe there is some like SJW stuff that if they do put it in there, it's subtle. You know, it's not something that's in your face constantly. You know, which is fine. Which is I think most people would be okay with. You know, it's as long as it's a good story that you can watch and enjoy. You know?
Yeah. But you know how we were talking about like the reason we like Rogan is because a lot of his comedy incorporates real life. So it would be nice and like it's nice when like they make a joke at the girl about being a shitty thrower or something like that, because
Yeah,
those things do happen in real life, and there
yeah,
shouldn't be a barrage of these fucking SJWs trying to ruin the fun, because like they act like these things aren't true. They really do.
yeah.
You know, remember we were talking to Devin about how like using words and shit, like people want to distort their realities. So
Hmm.
they use different words for different things so that they can
Yeah.
just like fucking confuse everything. And then on top of that, they want everybody else to participate in their identity. And it's like, I'm sorry, dude. I just don't have the mental capacity to like put up with every single person if everybody was like this in society to like cater to your delusion. Because it is a delusion.
Yeah.
And that's ruining all this comic book shit, and it's ruining movies because like art imitates life, and they are not cool with how life is. So they don't want that art to imitate those parts of life that they are ignoring.
And it's kind of goes that Jordan Peterson's one of these people, but it's one of those
Yeah.
people who like to put a lot of power in words.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true, words do have some sort of power, but we should be striving to not do that. You know, like words shouldn't
Yeah.
have power. Reality is reality, and the words don't change the reality. You know what I'm saying?
But the words matter insofar as we need to use those words to communicate. And
Yeah.
like, it just makes it so fucking hard to have a conversation with somebody when you have to, like carefully define each term that you use.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
when you're talking
making
to
sure.
someone and like, what do you think about feminism? And you're like, okay, what feminism are you talking about? Are you talking
Mhm.
about like the original feminism, or are you talking about 2018,
Yeah.
like man spreading mansplaining like feminism? And then you have to sort that shit out. And it's like, sure, things do change their meaning over time, but there's certain words that you don't need to do that with.
Hmm. That's true.
Like God is a very simple concept. You either believe in a higher power or you do not.
What
Like,
do you mean
is
by
it fact?
God?
Yeah, like what is that? That is like, dude, don't waste my time. Like you are wasting time here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's annoying. I don't
Mhm.
understand. I don't understand the purpose. I don't understand what they're I understand what they want to accomplish, but I don't understand how they think this is gonna accomplish that. Like,
Mhm.
all right, let's continue here.
Yeah.
Let's see, where was I? Okay, Twitter spokesperson told BuzzFeed News that if there is a violation of Twitter rules, we will take action. YouTube didn't reply to a request for the comment on Comicsgate. This is all because there's this YouTuber, Comics and Diversity, and he
Mhm.
basically buys comic books like once a week and reviews them on his channel.
Mhm.
And he points out all the SJW shit, the shit that's bad, what's bad writing, bad artwork.
Yeah.
And it's always from these SJW people. They draw women to look like men now, like they don't draw them with feminine type bodies and shit. They draw them all with small breasts, strong arms and all that. So
And you know what it is? Like these, like the way that they look, right? They need everybody else to think it's okay because they just don't want to accept that overall what you think is attractive isn't what most people think is attractive.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, they want to
Most
change what beauty standards are, right? That's
Exactly. And I think it's stupid. Like there are again it comes back to like understanding trends, right? Like with men, there are general trends. Like men overall like tall, like blonde hair, there's a certain hip to waist ratio. And like you don't see women out there in the world like that all the time. You see them on TV, blah blah blah, and like in comic books and shit because those are fantasy worlds where all the best things should be the thing.
yeah.
The women should be ridiculously hot with superpowers and super smart and can do everything and like make you a sandwich while doing everything else. Like, cause like if that's how the person wants to write the character, like they should be able to. And if you want to do your thing, go do your thing. But don't make the entire company responsible for making you feel included somehow because of those characteristics that you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. They're like forcing companies to do the things that are gonna kill the company
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of them feeling better. It's like what?
But again, it's obvious why the things that they were originally selling, like the comic books before all this shit started happening, were
Mhm.
selling. And it's because more people like that shit.
Yeah.
People don't like your shit. Find something else.
Yeah, and in the end, they don't want your political leanings in the comics.
Exactly.
Basically. All right. So for their part, some of the most influential and visible Comicsgate boosters say they're the ones under attack. They point to legitimately threatening tweets and other social media posts from people they call SJWs. They say they are quickly and incorrectly painted as Nazis, white supremacists, and or far-right figures by people obsessed with political correctness. Now, this happened with me. I got into an argument. Got that guy, Diversity in Comics, posted something and a retweet from some other guy who was calling his fans white, like white supremacists, stuff like that. And I was telling him, I'm not white, I'm Hispanic, and I got into this huge argument with him. And then, eventually I was like, well, I'm not white, so, you can't say that. And I'm a fan of his, so how are you going to say that his fans are white supremacists? And after I put that, a bunch of people started like responding to me saying, yeah, I'm not white either, I'm black, or I'm Hispanic, I'm Asian, So he doesn't have white supremacists as fans. I mean, I'm not saying that none of them are, but
I think
he does
right
have
now,
a huge diverse crew as his fans, women.
I mean, it doesn't fucking matter though. And just because you do have a bunch of white fans, like, it's not white supremacy. I hate that term. I think it's just bullshit. There is no such thing as white supremacy right now. There are averages for things, and in some people, white people do better, and they just don't like that. Like,
Yeah, I don't like
I think like weird things influence people's beliefs when it comes to what they think is better. So they're the ones who are actually doing that, who are saying like, yeah, white people are better.
Yeah, good point.
Right. But they don't want to admit it. So everybody else is just a white supremacist instead. If you take a white person's side, you're a white supremacist. Even if you're Hispanic, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's stupid about it.
Or if you're Hispanic, oh, well, you're passing as white, so.
Yeah.
I hate that. The whole debate is fueled by the fever swamp mentality that currently plagues politically polarizing topics, with each side trapped in their own filter bubbles of messages that only reinforce their point of views. That I kind of agree with. I can see that how they'll maybe not in this, but in a lot of times you'll see two extremes, right? And it's like a far right and a far left, and they're like,
well, I mean, the extremes of
side.
Yeah, the Supremes seem to be emerging out of all this shit that's happening though, because no extreme was necessary. But then it's like you either got to be all the way to the right or all the way to the left.
Yeah,
and everything became way too much. If every argument of yours has to do with whether it's left or right, you're doing it wrong. And I think most people do actually, like, obviously that's what it seems to be according to the numbers. You have to be super left or super to the right.
Yeah,
but it should always you should always just think about whether, like, is it the right way to behave, or is this the right thing? And if it falls to the right, sure. If it falls to the left, whatever, who cares? Like, as long as you have the right answer.
And I always hated this left and right thing anyway. It's like, it's kind of like if you're on the left, then you have to agree with everything the left says, or how to do things. It's like that. There's always different ways to deal with problems,
Yeah, and I get that there's certain trends that fall more towards the right and certain trends that fall more toward the left. But just because someone on each of those sides has an opinion that one of those sides has mostly, doesn't mean they're automatically this or that. It just means this is the answer to the question.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be so difficult.
Still, victims of Comic-Gate trolls told BuzzFeed News they've suffered months of sustained hatred and harassment in their mentions and attempts to hack their personal information. Many victims didn't want to be named by BuzzFeed News for fear of further retribution. Like, it's fucking Twitter. Get over it. It's not. I know. Two said they've had to seek counseling after being targeted. You have to. If you have to seek counseling after people harassing you on Twitter, there's something wrong with you, not the people harassing you. Dealing with Comicsgate for the past few months has been one of the most stressful experiences I've ever been through. Wow, you've had a very easy life then.
I have a weird sort of internet PTSD now because of it all. Fuck you.
One who does not
want some weak ass shit, man.
What's funny is these people call other people privileged, but this is a privileged person right here. You've had a super easy life if like something on the internet is doing this to you now.
There are people in the world who have seen their family and their friends die in intense battles, rip the fuck apart. Like, they've been shot, their legs missing, they're amputated. Those people have serious PTSD. For these people, take something like PTSD, they do it with that, they do it with rape, and they do it with actual cases of fucking racism, and it totally diminishes what those things actually mean.
Meanwhile,
and then they want to start with this shit. Oh, I have internet PTSD. You have no fucking idea.
Is it because of a few mean tweets? I got PTSD now. Get the fuck out of there. The weird sort of internet PTSD is that you're a weak bitch.
Yeah, straight up.
It's hard to determine when Comicsgate started, but many in the industry point out to October 2016 cancellation of writer Chelsea Cain's Marvel comic Mockingbird, a series defined by unabashed feminism that attracted the attention of online trolls. While the trolls didn't play a role in the series cancellation, well, yeah, they didn't play a role in it. It just sucked, so they canceled it. Nobody wanted it. When they heard the news, they were elated and hounded Cain off Twitter. But yeah, here's the cover of Mockingbird. It's ask me about my feminist agenda.
Ew.
Who would buy this? This is a comic book that you're like, this is not going to be a fun comic book to read. You know, right off the bat, just from seeing that cover. Mockingbird's final issue was dragged on the popular message board Funny Junk. Maybe they'll begin to realize that feminism and SJW still don't read comic books, no matter how much they try to pander. Yeah, that's a good point. That comic book didn't sell. Why? Because feminists aren't reading it. You know, they're trying to jump into the industry to like force politics onto people that aren't their audience. You know, like, why are you trying to make
exactly? That's the big part. That is not their audience.
No, it's not your audience. Find your own audience.
That's exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, if you want to make this shit, you go figure out a way to do it. You just want to jump on the backs of these bigger companies. That's what the thing is. They want to normalize something that, get ready, there's a fucking trigger warning right now, but they want to jump on the backs of, oh my God, I totally lost my thought there. I hate when that happens. So they want to jump on the backs of these big companies because they know nobody wants to fucking take their shit, because guess what? You want to normalize something that isn't normal. Sorry, bro. Like, if you look at the trends, like, the things that you like aren't what people generally like. That's why there's less of a market of things towards you. Like, people work for the majority of people, not for the minority, unless they're just some like little some person who has a lot of money and can just fuck around and do some weird shit that other people will like, kind of thing. But like, they have a small fucking portion of the population, nowhere like these giant companies. These companies work because there's certain things that they do that more people like than don't like. You can't normalize shit that just isn't normal. You just can't.
There's a great point right here. A now suspended Twitter account tweeted, "No one wants feminism preached at them for $3.99 an issue." Yeah. Who wants to go to buy a comic book, pay $4 like every month to have feminism preached at them? We're here for superhero stories. We want to see the superhero fight bad guys. You know, it's action. You know, it's not a feminist story. It doesn't work. I'm not talking about constructive criticism. Cain told
this is ridiculous.
This was more along the lines of women already have novels. You can't have comics too. No, nobody said that. And there's been women in comic books, and very well accepted women in comic books since the 60s. And some of them are known as like the greatest comic book writers and artists of all time. You know, like they're on the top lists. You know, one of my favorite comic book writers of all time is Louise Simonson in the 80s. She was one of my favorites. She used to write Thor and X Factor, and those were like the best runs of those comic books ever. And they're known as the best runs. So that's just bullshit already. Saying you can't have comic books. Get out of here. Women already.
Nobody fucking said that. Like,
they do that with video games too. And like, oh, what? Women have been in video games since the 70s. What are you talking about? Women used to make video games for Atari. Nintendo's always hired women. You know, so it doesn't make sense. That was like that. Anita Sarkeesian brought up. She was criticizing Bayonetta because it's like a sexy character and all that. And it ends up that it was a woman who designed her. So it's like, yeah, you're talking about men, that women aren't allowed in the industry. They make these male fantasy women. And it's like, no, a woman designed her.
Wait, do you remember that scientist who wore that shirt with all the ladies on it? They landed a fucking probe on a comet.
And all they could think about is a dude's fucking shirt.
Yeah, but a woman designed that shirt. It was his best friend.
That was a big one that blew up in their face too. I can't believe I was so mad because I was like, this poor guy is crying on a fucking on TV because of this bullshit, because these women fucking did this. And all he did was wear a shirt that his female friend made for him, and he was proud to wear it on TV, you know, because like, my friend made me this.
Dude, these women's self-esteem is so low that a fake woman on a shirt bothers them so much.
You just made me think like,
a hot fake woman.
What this is misery loves company culture, right? It's like these people are miserable, so now everybody else has to be miserable with them.
But they're also victims.
Yeah,
I'm such a victim. I'm such a victim.
I'm a victim because somebody drew a character with large tits. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I know.
What was that? All right, Mockingbird was too feminist. No one cares about a female hero. I don't buy comics written by women, Kane said. What? Who said that? When Marvel announced that the series had been canceled, I was tagged in a lot of celebratory tweets. My trolls had been vindicated. Yeah, they were celebrating because of the political agenda you were throwing in the comics, not because you're a woman or not because the character is a female hero. You know, there's been female heroes, and they don't sell because you're not buying them.
Exactly.
Like, if you want women comic books, you know, they've got to be bought. They're a company. They're not going to keep a comic book line going because you know, just for the shit fuck of it, you know, like Comicsgate. Oh wait, Mockingbird's final cover, which included the phrase "Ask me about my feminist agenda," has since become a Comicsgate meme and continues to be ridiculed. Yeah, it's a ridiculous fucking cover. It should be ridiculed. Comicsgate really broke through several months later in July 2017, 5 days after the death of trailblazing comic book publisher and Marvel employee Flo Steinberg. A group of women who were then working for Marvel went to get a milkshake in her honor. The group posed for a photo afterwards, all smiling at the camera, displaying their milkshakes with pride, and shared the picture on Twitter. Okay. Yeah, it's the Marvel milkshake crew. Yeah, and there's all these women there. The women quickly became the targets of Twitter trolling. One Comicsgate supporter asked, "Can we just get off of feminism and social justice and actually print stories?" How is that harassment? Can you read that? Look, I'm going to read this again. And if anybody can tell me how this is harassment, can we just get off of feminism and social justice and actually print stories? There's nothing wrong with that statement.
Like the most reasonable fucking question.
That is actually honest criticism. It's just saying, hey, you're putting too much feminism and social justice.
No, but they're never happy. They don't want constructive criticism. They don't. They say they do. They say they want a lot of things, and they don't understand the actual implications of attaining those things.
And look how they treat it. And months later, it's still going. Like, what? They're treating that like if that's serious harassment. Months later, it's still going. You mean the criticism telling you to stop feminism and social justice in comics and print good stories? Comicsgate supporters have had some success affecting the industry. Writer Aubrey Sitterson told BuzzFeed News he was trolled. His name's Aubrey. It's a guy. Oh man, I feel bad for you, dude. He was trolled for variant covers of G.I. Joe to celebrate LGBTQ Pride Month in June 2017, and another of the character Salvo. I've seen that cover. He drew like all the G.I. Joe characters like in drag, basically. I don't know. I guess people didn't like that. I don't really have a problem with that, but it was just a cover.
Yeah.
Then he said Comicsgate trolls pounced on his poorly worded tweet about his past 9/11 anniversary. I guess there's a tweet. Effective immediately, we are cutting all coverage of IDW publishing products until Aubrey Sitterson is removed from all Hasbro brand products. Wow. Well, that's kind of serious. Oh, good. It's self-centered national tragedy day. Wow, this is pretty fucked up tweet. Oh, good. It's self-centered national tragedy remembrance from people who weren't even anywhere near New York City Day. That's fucked up. I don't think that's a badly worded tweet. I think that's a fucked up fucking thing to post. The trolls stroke fierce outrage, repeatedly using the publishers at handle. Let's see what this one. IDW actually considering taking action against writer based on the whims of right-wing harassers. Why? That's another thing I don't get. Why are they automatically right-wing? Like, this guy's kind of making fun of. This guy's making fun of people trying to remember something terrible that happened in their country, and they're right-wing for not wanting them there, for being angry about that. Weird. Even Donald Trump. Oh no, Donald J. Trump is a joke one. That's the rabbit. Donald Trump. I've seen that one. Donald J. Thump. But yeah, I guess they got him fired. Sitterson's comic then came to the end of its run, and he said his upcoming work on the comic Strike Force for IDW was canceled. IDW told other outlets that Citizen expressed opinions on his personal social media account that many find insensitive, divisive, and inflammatory. IDW in no way condones or supports these personal opinions whatsoever and recognizes the pain that may cause our readers. Which makes sense. These people talk about like harassment and their all this stuff, and we read what one person thought was harassment was just them telling them to write good stories. And meanwhile, this guy's criticizing people for remembering a day that affected everyone in the country. You know, it was a super terrible like terrorist action that happened, and he's fucking telling people it's self-centered tragedy day. You know, like, well, yeah, you're an asshole, so that's what happens. Citizen said he thinks the true reason he was on the radar in the first place was the content of his comic. If you look at any of their actual critiques of me or the book, they always come down to Salvo, a main G.I. Joe character who is traditionally a male, but who Citizen wrote as a woman of color who isn't built like a fitness model. Okay. Well, again, you're changing a character that was already there, you know, like, to become a woman of color. Why not just add another character that's a woman of color, you know, a new character?
Oh, yeah, just why does that shit matter at all? Yeah, it drives me insane.
But like, if you look at the picture, the original character was a white dude, white muscular dude, and then changed it to a muscular woman. It doesn't really look muscular, more like fat. But
I hate when they do weird shit like that. They did that with Harry Potter. Like all of a sudden, in this new Harry Potter movie, Hermione Granger is a black chick, and you're like,
what?
seven fucking movies. I was under the impression this was some white chick with freckles. Apparently she's black now. And Hermione Granger, yeah, that's so instead of like that character fits. Hermione Granger is this adorable little white girl. Didn't even think about the white part before. But now Hermione Granger is a black chick culturally appropriating white shit.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
So weird. The comics rejoiced last year when Marvel executive David Gabriel told the retailer summit that people don't want to. Oh yeah, so there was like a meeting or something, and this guy who works for Marvel told the sponsors or whatever that the reason the comic book sales are declining is because people don't want diversity, and it's like, no, that's not the reason at all. That's not what people have been complaining about. They just don't want. I don't know. It's so weird that they don't hear the actual complaints. They just see what they want to see out of it. You know, these are buzzword people, so I guess they only see the buzzwords. So when they hear diversity, they don't want diversity. But it's like, no, your problem is that you're forcing the diversity and it's killing the stories. Everyone's mad at them for admitting it, but Marvel is correct that forced diversity and SJW crap has driven the sales into the ground. Yeah, forced diversity. That's saying it right there. Tweeted one pro comics gate account. So yeah. We're reading what this person is writing, is quoting from the Comics Gate people, and it makes sense. But they're writing it as if, see, they don't want diversity. But if you read it, it says they don't want that forced diversity and SJW crap. The forced is the keyword. It's like they don't see the keywords in these things. They look at the wrong words. Marvel finally realizes that forced diversity doesn't sell. Anti-SJW account said, yeah. It's don't force it. It's supposed to be subtle, you know. It's supposed to be in the background, not like in the foreground. Comic gators recently turned to blacklist and hashtag campaigns in an attempt to show their power within the industry. In early February, several members of the group made a blacklist, including creators and other industry members who spoke out against Comics Gate trolls, such as Citizen and Jamal Igle, and people who openly pushed for diversity. The latter includes Kelly Sue DeConnick. Oh, this chick is horrible. Creator of Bitch Planet. You got a comic book called Bitch Planet. It's probably, you got an idea of how bad this is going to be. A comic set in a dystopian future in which non-compliant women are sent to prisons. And Heather Antos, one of the women in the milkshake photo. Perhaps the most contentious part of Comicsgate is between victims and notable figures in the industry who many victims say walk the line between outright support and wink and nod enabling of the harassment. The trolls and the victims are emboldened by the attention and amplification. Well, that's because some of the people in the industry agree. They're losing their jobs to like fucking people coming straight out of college when they had to work their way up, and they see the industry falling because of this forced, bullshit, political bullshit getting thrown in there. Ethan Van Sciver, yeah, I follow this guy too. He's cool. Ethan Van Sciver, 43, is at the center of this tension. Van Sciver has worked in comics for decades for both Marvel and DC, and on prominent titles such as Green Lantern Rebirth, New X-Men, and Wolverine. Industry insiders have called him out for playing a role in the harassment, specifically saying that his troll followers will swarm anyone he disagrees with on Twitter. Van Sciver told BuzzFeed he is the victim in all this. Van Sciver isn't one of the faceless accounts who led the abuse, but he will often interact with men who advocate for diversity or who engage him rather than women. What? Oh, I guess he often interacts with the men and not the women. I don't know. Weird. From there, some of his followers attack. Van Sciver claims he's trying to use his platform, which often leads to harassment, to bring peace through conversation, ultimately trying to separate what's ironic, what's genuine, and what's merely a motif. And Van Sciver's art is emblematic of ongoing chaos of Comicsgate. Van Sciver denies any affiliation with Comicsgate, which, yeah, he's not part of that. And he has denied that his posts on social media are meant to dog whistle Comicsgate supporters. He said he's in the middle of an enormous culture war. I'm trying to protect myself and my family from further victimization and targeting by radicals. But they're not saying in this, though, he did get fired from a recent job because of all this shit, because of the stuff he was saying on Twitter, which was just him expressing his ideas that, why the comic industry is doing bad right now. Van Sciver denied. Oh, I read that. Did I? Ongoing chaos. No, Van Sciver denies any affiliation with Comicsgate, and he has denied that his posts are. Yeah, I did read that. Oh yeah. And from targeting by radicals, but Van Sciver often promotes
what?
Yeah, targeted by radicals. Yeah, not very radical. But Van Sciver often promotes far-right messages. Far-right. He's shared memes from the far-right pro-Trump subreddit, the Donald.
Oh my God.
Used imagery of Pepe the Frog dressed as an armed stormtrooper, saying in the comments, "We're cleaning up your queer globalist mess." and hosted a former Gamergate activist and white nationalist on his YouTube show. Funny, it doesn't say who it is, so we know if they really are a white nationalist.
No.
I can't think of any Gamergate activist that's a white nationalist. Like, unless he's talking about Milo, but I don't think Milo's a white nationalist, really, right? I wouldn't call him that.
No, I don't think so.
He is kind of far rightish, but I don't think he's a white nationalist. Comics fan. Oh, Synth is here. What's up, Synth?
Hey.
Comics fans have been repeatedly called Van Sciver a Nazi because of a sketchbook he released in 2007 titled My Struggle. Its title is the direct translation of Mein Kampf. That doesn't mean it's the same thing. And features the character Sinestro modeled to resemble him. Well, that kind of makes sense. Sinestro's a villain. He made him to be like a Nazi type villain. That makes sense.
Yeah.
My Struggle was a play on the fictional evil fascist dictator Sinestro, who is known as a space Hitler in the Green Lantern universe, a villain. The sketchbook is also representative of my struggle in art. I also did one called Manifesto, made to look like a communist propaganda. Yeah, but the SJWs don't bring that out because they like communism, so they're not gonna point out that he also did one on the communist side as well. He also wrote a lengthy defense on Facebook. In a series of emails to BuzzFeed, which he apparently leaked to comics website Bounding Into Comics, Van Sciver denied allegations that he was working with anyone aligned with far-right ideologies and that he shared these beliefs. I find racism deplorable. I find bigotry disgusting, and I've never engaged in racial politics or Nazism. My children are Jewish. He even has Jewish children. They're saying he's a Nazi. Van Sciver is an admirer of Jordan Peterson. Oh, God. A self-described classical liberal Canadian academic who has recently become a popular figure amongst both far-right and far-right, get out of here, and internet communities, the men's rights movement, for his conservative views on diversity, gender, and free speech. Conservative views on free speech? What's a conservative view on free speech?
I know. I don't like... Free speech for everybody is conservative now. Get fucked.
Yeah, the free speech is an all-encompassing, like, right.
That's a universal value.
Yeah,
like,
universal.
Oh my God, so fucking stupid.
Basically, the lady who wrote this just basically said that free speech isn't a left issue. Which, if she's on the left, which means she agree with free speech.
So that they're kind of knocking themselves if they don't value free speech. Fucking idiots.
Somebody who's against free speech. Van Sciver illustrated the cover of Peterson's latest book, 12 Rules for Life, on the New York, blah, 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 described as right-wing pieties, seductively mythologized for our current lost generation. I don't think Jordan Peterson's right wing. I don't know. I don't get how they get that.
Jordan
Not at
Peterson
all.
would just shut the fuck
Yeah, I
up.
don't like him, and I wish he'd shut up too. But he's definitely not right wing. He doesn't have it. Not right wing at all. Van Sciver
Well,
didn't
if
respond to
you're
the comment.
conservative in any way, shape, or form, he's conservative. They consider him right wing because he's religious and he's traditional. He's all about that trad life. You know what I mean? Hey, girls, you should like have babies and like be in relationships. Like you're not really meant to work, kind of thing. So, in that sense, he is gonna be considered right, I guess.
A representative from Marvel told BuzzFeed they had no statement on Van Sciver because he hadn't worked with the publisher since 2003. DC responded by providing a statement regarding the company's new social media policy. DC expects that its employees and freelance talent community maintain a high level of professionalism, as well as reasonable and respectful behavior when engaging in online activities. Comments that may be considered defamatory, libelous, discriminatory, harassing, hateful, or that incite violence are unacceptable and may result in civil or criminal action. In addition, comments that may be considered insulting, crude, rude, crass, mean-spirited, or against. I hate when they use a lot of words that mean the same thing, like cruel, rude, crass.
Is there like a word?
Yeah, they're all synonymous.
An amount of words or something.
Yeah,
what's happening
weird.
Here?
The company policy and guidelines. We ask and expect that you will help to create an online environment that is inclusive, supportive, and safe. Oh God. And then a picture of this chick with a shirt that says "Ask me about my feminist agenda."
I see that. That's
I guess
so
I'm
gay.
Chelsea Kane. Yeah, I guess she put herself into it because that's her shirt. I guess.
Yeah.
Van Sciver seems aware his interactions could lead to hostile attention from his followers. In December 2017, comics podcaster Dexter Buscitelli pointed out on Twitter that a lot of Comicsgate accounts follow Van Sciver, who then responded by quote tweeting Buscitelli's podcast account saying, "You're on my radar now, guys. Continue spreading this filth about me and I'll do what I can to make you all famous." Buscitelli took preventative measures and blocked scores of troll accounts to keep abuse to a minimum. Gotcha. They couldn't even take anybody commenting, so they blocked all of them before they can even say anything to them.
It's like the saddest thing ever. These are
so sad. That's like what Shives does, right? That's like what Shives does. He blocks people who follow YouTubers he doesn't like and shit. Like,
that's so pathetic.
Yeah, it's so sad. But he read Van Sciver's words as a thinly veiled threat of harassment. No, somebody's gonna tweet me with some mean words. Oh no, I might as well go kill myself now.
That's some bitch ass shit.
Yeah, it's God. It was so. This is leading to like a weak people.
Now.
Yeah, I have PTSD because I read some mean words on Twitter. Fucking turn off your computer then. Fuck.
Yeah, why? Hit the block button. What is the block button for?
Yeah, block or uninstall Twitter. You don't need Twitter in your life. It's not a necessity. Like. Daryl Ayo, the creator of the comic Little Garden, believes his own run-in with Van Sciver in January is a textbook example of how Comicsgate harassers and amplification works. It began when Ayo tweeted about John Malin, a Marvel comic book artist, criticizing him for claiming social justice warriors are politically similar to Nazis. I'm not going to say he's wrong. It said, X-Men are closer to Jews in SJW Hitler's Germany fighting for freedom because they see ideologues rising, silencing them, weaponizing hate, racism, and socialism against the people they claim are in the root of social ills. SJWs are not Nazis, but Nazis are SJWs, and X-Men aren't SJWs. Daryl Ayer said, it doesn't matter if you like John Malin's comic drawings or not. If you base your politics around whether or not somebody's art appeals to you, then you're going to disappoint yourself sooner than later. Oh yeah, this guy Daryl Ayo, this guy's a dick. He's this black dude, lives in New York. I've had a lot of run-ins with him because of that diversity comics guy, and he's one of those guys that I told I'm not white. That he was saying, now that I think about it, this may be the exact person that I was having that argument with. That I was like, I'm not white. Like, why are you saying his fans are white supremacists? I'm not even white. I think that's one of those guys. Malin told BuzzFeed News, Nazis are racist authoritarians. Social justice warriors are a loser group of racist and sexist authoritarians working its way further into positions of power and influence. I kind of agree with him. The SJWs are racist and sexist.
They are the most racist and sexist and discriminatory.
Yeah, just like how Devin always says about how these people like infantilize black
Yeah.
people and stuff. Like they see that black people are as something like children they have to rescue. Like, no, they have
And
their own
also,
agency. They're adults. They can
yep.
take care of
And
shit.
they are the ones who have an inferiority complex.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, whites don't have a superiority complex.
No. It's
They
true.
just do their shit, man. That's why.
Yeah, they're just going about their life, and these people have an inferiority complex, and then see. That's like how you were saying how they're the white supremacists, you know, like these are the people who view white people as supreme, and they want to push them down so that they can come up. Ever since this whole SJW culture thing is like, what I've seen is it's not that they want to raise people up to the higher level.
No, they want to bring them down.
It seems like they want to bring everyone else down to their level. Yep. And it's like, why are you doing that? Shouldn't you be promoting people to be better and raise themselves up as opposed to bringing others down? Like,
they don't even understand that long term that is like psychologically detrimental to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and then and as we talked about last week when we were streaming was how they're creating oh, my dog just That's cute. But how they're creating an opposing reactionary culture. So now they're doing this. So now there's going to be actual racists and far right Nazi type people coming out because you're creating that culture. You're bringing a reactionary culture. I guess these things don't change right away, you know.
No.
And when you push them to change right away, there's going to be opposition. Yeah.
But dude, it's like you should be trying to get better. Instead, you're trying to make everybody come down to your level so that what we fail, we go backwards. Like, fuck off.
Even with this whole white privilege thing. And it's like, all right, you're seeing people who are getting through life easier. So why are you trying to make it worse for them instead of trying to make it easier for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, maybe you should make choices in your life that make your life easier as opposed to, you know, bringing everyone else down.
Exactly. But that's too much work.
Yeah, it's too much work. Instead, they want everything handed out for free. Like, oh, these people are getting it easy, so now we should all get it easy. And it's like, no.
It's so much easier to bitch and complain than it is to shut the fuck up and do something. But eventually, if you do something long enough, it becomes easy. You just gotta do it. Yeah.
My life hasn't been easy. I grew up poor as fuck in a fucking broke ass ghetto. Like, you know, you don't see me blaming it on anybody else. You know, it's no, this
I didn't have an easy life either, but am I gonna get anywhere blaming my parents until the day I die?
And my parents were immigrants. They didn't come here and blame their struggles on anyone else. They were like, yeah, we moved to a new country. It's gonna be hard, you know? So we're gonna work as hard as we can, struggle through this hardness to make it easier for our kids, you know? And that's exactly what they did. And it was still hard on me, but it wasn't as hard as it was for them, you know,
for sure.
New immigrants, you know? And like I said, I don't blame my struggles on anyone else. My life could be easier if I made better choices and stuff like that. But I made the choices I made and I deal with it. It's cool. You know?
Yeah. Word. That's why we get along, Alfie.
Yeah. Basically.
No bitch ass shit over here.
We ain't no bitch ass. Yeah, I ain't no bitch ass bitch.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I deal with my struggles. It's all right. And I don't have a problem with it. And I don't really dislike it. I kind of like that I struggled through life.
Me
you know?
too.
I feel like it made me a stronger person.
Dude, it builds character.
Yeah, it builds character. It's made me a stronger person. I can look at these things and these people telling me, hey, you know, you had it hard because you're Hispanic, you know, and I can look back and say, no, you know, I had it hard because I made bad choices. Like, I didn't go to college. You know, that's a major choice of why I work a low wage job, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't mind because, you know what, school just wasn't for me. I'm just not that kind of person. I can't sit in a classroom all day. It drives me nuts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my problem now. And it's not worth it to even do that unless you know what you're going to do or you have the money to spend, because sometimes you just don't want to do what you're doing anymore. That's what happened to me.
Yeah, even if I went...
2 years of hard work that I, like, skipped out on. I could have, like, done other shit. I could have traveled instead, but nah, I spent 10 grand on school and shit. And, like, didn't even want to do what I went to school to do.
Yeah, like we were talking about...
Like...
we were talking about earlier today how I was telling you how I just can't do an office job. You know, I have to do a physical job. That's just me. It drives me nuts to sit in an office and do work.
Yeah.
So even if I did get a good job that paid really well and I sat in office because I was a diversity hire, I'd still fail at that. You know what I'm saying? I'd ruin that because I wouldn't be able to do it. It'd drive me nuts and I'd quit. So even if I went to college because it was because of my diversity, right? Because they wanted a Hispanic person there, I would have failed or dropped out because I just can't deal with sitting in a classroom, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's like these people don't need that, and I'm sure that's going to happen a lot because we're going to get a lot of diversity recruits for like college and stuff like that. Yeah. And these people are going to drop out because they're not people who are meant for that school and shit like that. Or they would have, or they wouldn't have needed that diversity, right? Because they would have gotten in because of their grades. You know what I'm saying? Nazis. Okay, we read that. Unlike a fight like this catches the eye of bigger personality in the Comicsgate universe, like Van Sciver, once it does, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It doesn't always take a public disagreement from the trolling to start. The announcement of a new comic by a blacklisted or disliked creator, or simply a regular target tweeting, can kick off an altercation. When IO pushed back against Malin, Van Sciver tweeted to his followers asking if they'd want to see Ayo and Malin debate each other on Van Sciver's YouTube channel. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, who wants me to take at John Malin live on Comics Artist Pro Secrets to discuss the hullabaloo right now? You down? So basically, he called out this dude who wants diversity and was like, "Yo, well, if you have a problem, we can debate it on this channel, right?"
Debate me.
Yeah. Then Van Sciver replied directly to Ayo's tweet, inviting him to come on his show, Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and say what you have to say. I mean, I remember this Ethan Van Sciver guy is a guy who's been working in comics for like 30 years. And this Daryl Ayo guy is like a new dude who publishes like his own independent comic books of like black superheroes and stuff, right? And then so this Daryl Ayo guy responds, "It doesn't matter if you like John Malin's comic drawings or not. If you base your politics around whether or not somebody's art appeals to you, then you're going to disappoint yourself sooner than later." I don't know how that works, but Daryl, come on my show right now and say what you have to say. I'm putting John Malin discussion. I guess he backed out. Ayo declined his invite and instead posted a thread of tweets saying he believed Van Sciver was luring him into a obvious setup. As soon as Van Sciver engaged Ayo, a wave of abuse from Comicsgate Twitter trolls began. Well, you pussied out. What you think was going to happen? A bunch of people were going to come at you and say, "Oh, you're a pussy. You can't back up your shit." Of course. That happens to everyone, no matter what side you're on. Look what happened with me with the vegans, right? They all came at me and was like, "Oh, you're a pussy because you won't debate your."
I was just gonna say, like, ask yourself.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Obviously, I say you don't see me bitching about it and being like, "This guy's a Nazi." Ask yourself as a Nazi.
For fuck's sake.
Oh shit! I clicked something and it went to. Oh, I'm blocked. I clicked on his name on the thing by accident. And it brought me up
so
to
that
Twitter.
was the guy then.
And yeah, it was the guy that I was talking
with.
He blocked me soon after I was telling him, "No, I'm not white. I'm not, he's not white nationalist here."
Jesus.
I wouldn't be a fan of his.
What's the point of arguing with someone who's gonna like tell you that you don't know your own identity?
Yeah, it's weird.
It is so weird.
Your man Ethan Van Sciver attempted to goad me into coming onto a podcast show to debate some ridiculous right-winger artist at Marvel. No, well, who cares if he's right or left? That's not even an issue.
People are obsessed with that.
Yeah. Ayo believes that Van Sciver's followers see who he interacts with and pounces once he's acknowledged someone. According to a sample of Twitter accounts reviewed by BuzzFeed News, the majority of the abuse against Ayo was coming from people who followed Van Sciver. 20 minutes after Van Sciver's first tweet to Ayo, one of his followers posted a picture goading Van Sciver and Ayo to fight. Others sent targeted abuse. Ayo was referred to as a mediocre Negro.
Oh my
God. That's pretty funny. I'm sorry if people think that's offensive, but it's hilarious. Too bad.
Mediocre Negro.
I mean, if somebody called me a mediocre Hispanic, I'd laugh too. That's just
oh my funny. God.
At Daryl Ayo is what happens when you give a homeless crackhead a fun iPhone.
Oh my
That's
God.
pretty funny too. Ayo tried to block as many of the troll accounts as he could before he engaged Van Sciver. Some used his handle anyway. Yeah, and I follow Van Sciver, but I don't think I was when I interacted with that guy. So he blocked me for other reasons. It wasn't for that. I wasn't trolling him. I was just having a discussion with him, and he blocked me. And my discussion was basically trying to tell him, like, it's not just the right-wing white nationalists. I was like, I'm on the left. I'm Hispanic. I grew up in New Jersey, and I'm a fan. And I agree with diversity in comics that this forced diversity is ruining comic books. And he blocked me for that. Trying to explain it to him. So you see what these people, like I said, I do believe that these people legitimately get harassment at times, but they do encompass it all as harassment. Even people just trying to explain to them that
I don't think
who
it
they
should be
are.
called diversity. I think it should be called forced identity politics.
Yeah,
That's
that's
exactly
what
what
it
it
is.
is.
That's what it is. People don't have a problem with diversity in comics. It has forced identity is what identity politics is what the issue is. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's where we go back into words having power, right? Because now they've taken diversity to mean something else. As we've seen that diversity now means no white people, yeah, in most things.
Exactly.
Remember that article I showed you? I think it was from BuzzFeed as well, that was saying that Black Panther was the most diverse Marvel Comics movie because it has 90% black people in it. Like, how is that diverse? And that you totally destroyed the meaning of that word now. As a harassment campaign builds steam, many of the Comicsgate accounts sending the abuse will try to paint themselves as the true victims of harassment. Van Sciver, for instance, started posting screenshots of various times Ayo had publicly accused him of being a Nazi. Well, that kind of is harassment, right? If he's constantly calling somebody a Nazi, then he really is the victim of harassment. He's not lying. Yeah, it is. So Van Sciver tweeted, "The creepy stunt was inviting you onto my show for a conversation about your creepy stunt, which has been an ongoing harassment campaign against me." And if you see this, David Ayo's tweets, he said, "Help me understand. You're not a Nazi, but you named your art book My Struggle as a joke, and people are supposed to get that." No, it wasn't a joke. The book was about a villain. Like, how do they not get that? Ethan, it's a joke. World, the joke is that you're a Nazi. This guy's just not getting it. Sciver's Nazi leanings. I was at work checking out his original painting. Anyway, Ethan Van Sciver isn't a Nazi, even though he named his book My Struggle. Take it away, Rich. Yeah.
So is Hitler the only person who can use that title of a book?
Yeah, now you can't. Yeah, now you can't. Or you can't even make references to Hitler, or you're like, this guy made a comic book sketchbook sketching out a villain character throughout the whole thing and called it My Struggle because the character is basically an analog for Hitler in the Green Lantern universe.
Yeah.
So now he's a Nazi because he did a sketchbook on this villain and called it My Struggle. And like, explaining it to you right now, it totally makes sense why he did that sketchbook and called it that, right? Like,
you know what? For people to just so easily throw around the term Nazi, it's like, didn't we learn about this in high school? Do people not understand how brutal the Nazis actually were? That you're calling someone who doesn't agree with you a Nazi for real, and then you're gonna go say shit like, "Oh, hey, it's okay to punch a Nazi."
Yeah.
And that shit means nothing now. Like,
Yeah,
I
and
feel
now
it's
you
so
see,
disrespectful.
and now you see, to all these people, it would be justified to punch Ethan Van Sciver. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy's calling him a Nazi because he called his art book My Struggle. Like, it's ridiculous.
Which has nothing to do with Hitler, whether he's an analog or not.
Which is where we can say this legitimately is harassment, because now he's calling him a Nazi, which, you know, in today's climate means you can punch him. So there's actual danger that can come from this.
Exactly.
In this case, the interactions caught the attention of sites sympathetic to Comicsgate, such as Bleeding Fool. Bleeding Fool? I don't think that's the real name of that comic. I think they're doing that on purpose. Oh, no, a parody website of Bleeding Cool. Okay. Which Bleeding Cool actually is on the Comicsgate site as well. That called Ayo the real villain of the Hall of Fair. Yeah. Another tool used by the trolls is to argue that people like Ayo are actually just trying to use the attention to make money, or use the profile of someone like Van Sciver to improve their own. Which kind of makes sense because, like I said, this guy is a independent comic book artist and he just draws like black superheroes. He doesn't work for any big company or anything. So it would, I'm not saying that that's actually what's happening, but you know,
it's very highly possible.
Yeah, it makes sense. It is possible that somebody would do that and try to get appeal, you know, and an audience from that. All of this Twitter material gets screenshot and put into YouTube videos by big Comicsgate accounts and then transmitted back out, leaving people like Ayo inundated by a constant barrage of thousands of abusive tweets. This harassment feedback loop can last for weeks. Yeah, so just ignore it. Like, why is that so difficult? I did that Ask Yourself video and I got a bunch of harassment. I just ignored it.
Yep.
Or I made videos laughing at it, you know, and making a big joke out of it. And guess what? It's kind of gone away. Nobody's even bothered me now for like the last week. It lasted like 2 weeks that people were like, Well, I don't even call it harassing, you know, like that people were like fucking with me, and I was like, yeah, whatever, big deal. And now it's gone. That's all you do. Ignore
See,
it.
the thing is, like,
not
they
make it a big
can't
deal.
ignore it, so it's on you to stop behaving like that
Yeah.
instead of them to ignore or push the block button. So it's
Look
like,
how easy it was, right? These people bothered me for like a week. You know what I'm saying? I ignored it or made a joke out of it and made it that it didn't bother me because it didn't bother me. So, and now they stopped because they saw they weren't getting at me. So they're like, oh, well, we're not getting at them. That's kind of the point of trolling, right? Is to get a reaction from you. And when they don't get the reaction they want from you, the trolls stop because it's boring. You know what I'm saying? The fun of it is to get the person to react, you know?
right,
If
exactly.
they're not reacting, the fun's dead and they move on to the next person they could try to get to react, you know? Yeah, this harassment can last for weeks. Prominent Comics Gate, like here's where we get to my boy Zach. Prominent Comics Gate account Diversity in Comics, which I got him to say my name on YouTube, so I have a clip of that. That video sometime because he shouted me out because I gave him a funny joke, so he made the joke and then he called and then he said I got it from Alf Benny. So Diversity in Comics, run by Richard C. Meyer, continued. Yeah, now they called out his name. He used to be anonymous, but now that somebody doxed him and got his name, so now they constantly use his name and call him out. Continued to cover the interaction for weeks after it happened, each time reigniting the dispute. After his interaction with Van Sciver, trolls would troll around through AO's feed for any tweet they deemed outrageous and share it with their followers, continuing the abuse. That's all part of being public. You know, if you have a public account, that's all part of it. Anybody can take your tweets and make fun of it, whatever.
This is just weakness.
Yeah, it's weak of somebody
You're just
to take that as
complaining
harassment.
about mean tweets. You're a fucking baby ass cunt, and you shouldn't be on the internet, you thin skinned bitch.
Yeah, basically. Meanwhile, being constantly calling somebody a Nazi to me is actual harassment. But as you can see, Van Sciver doesn't really take it like that. And he's not really trying to get into the whole victim culture thing and be like, he does say he is the victim of it, but he doesn't, you know, he's not constantly putting it out there and being like, I'm a victim, I need help, you know, these people are harassing me. He hasn't blocked anyone on his Twitter, you know, he's not constantly calling for people to say that these people are victimizing me. Ethan Van Sciver, being a high-level person inside of comics, has absolutely given these people a sense of legitimacy, AO told BuzzFeed. His participation encourages further harassment, and his lies about me have inflamed these trolls. This absolutely puts my actual safety at risk. You see, this guy's bitching that he's being harassed and at risk. But meanwhile, he was the one constantly calling Van Sciver a Nazi, right? And and he never puts himself accountable for that. He never says, oh, you know, or even says that maybe it was an afterward thing. Well, because he lied about me, you know, I did it back, you know.
But he's the victim.
He doesn't even say that. Yeah, he just paints himself the victim and never takes accountability for the things he did.
Isn't it funny how all these SJWs do that? They
Yeah,
justify all the worst things they do, like violence. Well, words are violence. So if somebody calls me a mean name, I'm justified to use violence as retaliation. Like, fuck you.
They never hold themselves accountable for what they do. And meanwhile, they do basically the same things that they're bitching the other person's doing. You know what I'm saying? And they're the ones doing it, and they never hold themselves accountable for
everything they claim to hate.
Exactly. Let's see. Van Sciver told BuzzFeed News that he did not know AO prior to the interaction, and that AO calling him a Nazi put his family at risk. We were afraid to travel because of the personal threats we were receiving, all of them using the word Nazi. So yeah, basically they're getting threats from people calling him a Nazi all the time. He said he invited AO on his show to humanize himself to him. Yeah, meanwhile, that's why he wanted him on his show, so he can tell him like, dude, I'm a normal guy. I'm not a Nazi.
There you go.
But he wouldn't go on the show.
But it's a setup, remember?
Yeah, instead he was like, oh, it's a setup. What's the setup? You go on the show. If something happens, you can leave. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. Like right now, if I was trying to set you up and trying to do something to you, you could just back out of this. You could just close Windows, Google Hangouts and leave.
They just don't actually want to be put in the spotlight and ripped apart because there's no logic behind any of their views on these matters at all.
They don't want to humanize their opponents. That's what it is. It's
exactly.
Just like Anita Sarkeesian.
Then they have to feel bad.
Just like how Anita Sarkeesian never wants to talk to Sargon, and Steve Shives never wants to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's no point in interacting with them. It's because you don't want to. These people are the enemy to you, and you don't want to humanize them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Journalist Kieran Shiach, who was included on the Comicsgate blacklist, told BuzzFeed News that he had a similar experience with AO. So these are two people on the same side, and he had a similar experience to him. Because this guy who's saying that he had the same experience to Ayo is on the Comicsgate blacklist. So he's one of those people that does diversity and shit that people are against.
Yeah.
In mid-2017, Shiach on Twitter called for DC to fire Van Sciver. Shiach told BuzzFeed News he did this for what he says was a history of Nazi-associated imagery in his work. But he's not a Nazi. But see, this is the thing. It's just because now, like I was just saying, you make a reference to Hitler, you make a reference to Nazis, all of a sudden you're a Nazi. Maybe there was Nazi-associated imagery in his work because it had to do with the villains, right? And it's like, just like Star Wars, you know, the whole stormtroopers, the whole empire is Nazi, an analog for Nazis, you know?
Yeah.
So now is George Lucas a Nazi because he did that, you know? Doesn't even make sense.
That's the logic, and it just doesn't work.
The tweet attracted some attention thanks to its inclusion in a Bleeding Cool article. Shiach tweeted about Van Sciver and diversity in comics over the next few months with little response from either. Then in late 2017, both Van Sciver and Diversity in Comics publicly criticized Shiach for his tweets about them. They continued to do this over the following months, again, sporadically picking tweets by Shiach to criticize. So this guy, Shiach, said, I'm still waiting for some investor to approach me about starting a Comics Alliance inspired site or even buying the site from Town Square. Well, yeah, nobody wants to work with you, I guess. So, it's been 9 months and I'm still super depressed about losing my job. And then Van Sciver said, this is what I mean. I know you're depressed, but virtue signaling hate mobs to attack conservatives in comics isn't going to make anyone buy your defunct SJW Comics website.
Nah.
We can work together to make this business more profitable for everyone. See, I see this as Van Sciver taking the high road. He's saying, look, you attacked me and wanted to fire me for conservative views. But and so now nobody wants to buy your shitty fucking SJW website. And he's like, instead, we could work together and make it profitable for everyone, you know, instead of being, again, you know, conservatives and liberals fighting each other. Let's work together, you know. Comic books aren't about politics. So, you know what I'm saying? You can put your politics aside and work together for the industry. Shiach said that them publicly addressing him 100% increased harassment each time it happened. But he wasn't addressing you in a fucked up way, you know?
No, he wasn't. Why do people think that, like, so for example, if we went out and we like said a negative comment on like a Jeff Holiday video, people think that because we all fall under some Devin umbrella that Devin sent us. It's like this shit. Like people think that these people individually are like, all right, everybody, go flood this person's timeline with harassment. No, people can make their own decisions and be idiots all by themselves. Like,
and it works both ways. You think if like, what's her name that played Hermione? Emma
Watson.
Emma Watson. You think if she put out like a tweet about somebody on Twitter about, you know, that had to do with feminism, you think that like people who followed her wouldn't all jump in and respond to this person and tweet that person? And, you know, and you could see that as harassment or not, but either way, anybody with a lot of followers tweets somebody about something, they're gonna get a shit ton of responses from that person's followers. You know?
It's just really fucking stupid.
Like even Diversity in Comics played this big. He said big thanks to, and like basically tweeted that one guy that was against him for helping me past 50,000 subs, and he basically took that guy's negative tweets about him and said, hey, thanks for helping me get all these subs. You know what I'm saying? It's like your negative reply to me actually boosted my subs. So thanks. Yeah. So he even took a high road on it. And I wouldn't call that harassment, you know? And it's basically just because you mentioned me, I'm getting harassed, blah, blah. And then after Ethan Van Sciver posted that, somebody else said, I just went to his Twitter page and I'm blocked. A Polygon soy boy using Blockbot. Imagine. Shocked. You know? Yeah, basically. So now they're calling that harassment. Like, come on. Who is King Impulse and why am I blocked? So basically, after he responded to him, he auto-blocked all that guy's followers. So now they're putting this as like harassment that everybody's saying, wait, why am I blocked by this guy? That's like Steve Shives saying I'm harassing him because I put at German Bruin. Why am I blocked by Steve Shives? You know, that's harassment now.
Yeah.
Weird. I guess this guy, I guess Bleeding Fool posted a bunch of his tweets saying, okay, I need to talk about Richard C. Meyer, aka Diversity in Comics for a minute. Content warning for homophobia. Oh, I remember this guy. This was a while back, but this guy was, because I remember because Diversity in Comics was just taking his tweets and posting it on his own. But he was constantly calling him a transphobe and a homophobe and saying, oh yeah, this guy doesn't want women working at comics, you know, all which isn't true. And he was constantly posting that. So really, he's the one harassing. You see that? He's the one saying something incorrect about someone and calling him things that he's not. It's crazy. Shiach said his abuse has been mainly on Twitter, but similar to Ayo's case, trolls have attempted to set up accounts mocking him, as well as sporadic Facebook messages and YouTube comments. Shiach mostly feels frustrated that Twitter has yet to deal with these troll accounts. I got like 100 replies to this tweet, plus more that were sent to me privately. A lot of people wanted to let me know they reported him, but didn't want to be public targets for his followers by replying to the thread. One person who did reply to Shiach publicly saying they had reported Diversity in Comics was immediately added to the list titled Cancer in Comics. The user told BuzzFeed News that they remember being added to the list, but immediately blocked the account responsible due to regular online abuse. Or whatever. Some dude added me to the list of Cancer in Comics immediately after I posted this, finally getting the notoriety I deserve. But I want to relate a personal thing too. When I went to Comic-Con last year, it was like maybe like a month or two after I started watching Diversity in Comics, and I was watching him a lot, and I was talking to him on Twitter here and there, and he posted he was going to Comic-Con on the Saturday, which was the same day I was going, and he got messages from this dude telling him he was going to kick his ass, and he was telling him all that. He was like, "Oh, you fucking homophobe, white nationalist! I'm gonna kick your ass if I see you there." So I posted, dude, if I see you and I see this guy trying to kick your ass, I got your back. Like I'll help you fuck this dude up. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and he thanked me. He was like, "Thanks, man." And you know, obviously that dude never attacked him. He was posting pictures of himself at Comic-Con, and nobody. He was like, "Yeah, nobody bothered me. I just walked around, and nobody really recognized me." So I was like, "All right." I don't know what he looks like, so I wouldn't have recognized him anyway. But anybody I saw someone's ass there for some bullshit reason, you know, I'm gonna jump. Yeah. Shiach said he believes the open criticizing key Comicsgate figures has just made him an easier target because I don't shut up. They want people to shut up and let it happen. And I'm not going to do that despite their escalating efforts. Shiach then referenced a video Diversity in Comics had just made about him requesting donations for a bus ticket. Diversity in Comics first tweeted a screenshot in a now deleted reply. Van Sciver said that bitch can starve. Yeah, Diversity in Comics said, "Can someone please buy Kieran Shiach a sandwich?" I guess to shut him up. Like eat a sandwich to shut up. Yeah. Ethan Van Sciver, that bitch can starve. These are legitimately funny. That's the point. Like these people are just having fun, basically, and these other people are taking it as a harassment, you know. Van Sciver promotes the work of Meyer, who runs Diversity in Comics. Meyer's account, in part, led to the harassment campaign that resulted in the cancellation of Citizens Next project. Recently, Van Sciver has promoted a pro-mayor campaign that uses the hashtags #MoveTheNeedle or #MovingTheNeedle, which encourages the Diversity in Comics community to buy comics suggested by Meyer in his YouTube channel. Oh, that's another thing. This guy will pick up like independent comics too, or smaller company comics. And if they're good, you know, he'll recommend them. He'll say, "Hey, yeah, I'm recommending this." So he posted this and added the company and put at, you know what, company, they make good comic books, you know, watch my video. I review them and I highly recommend their work. So those people retweeted it. That company retweeted it, and they got harassed and got tons of tweets from all these SJW people saying, "Oh, you just retweeted from a white nationalist Nazi and racist and all this stuff." Yeah, and there was like all these like trans people saying, "Oh, that guy's a transphobe. He doesn't want transphobic people working there." Created this huge thing. These people had to apologize basically and deleted the retweet. And they told Diversity in Comics, like, "Nothing against you, but you know, we don't want to, you know, we're a small company, you know, we don't want the bad publicity, you know." And he understood. He was like, "Yeah, I get it, you know." But he was like, "Yeah, see, these people just bullied these people into not having me review their comics, basically," which is shitty, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a small company. They got reviewed by a huge YouTuber, and now they can't get reviewed by the huge YouTuber, and they can't retweet the review from the big YouTuber because they get bullied. Like, such bullshit. Yeah, these mostly avoid topics like modern feminism and LGBT issues and rarely feature diverse characters. It's already been proven to be influential. But that's not true. That's not true either. They do feature diverse characters. They just not as many as they'd like, you know. That's just what it is. Phoenix Resurrection #3 is good, but a little padded. I don't know what that means. I guess he's saying it's good, but it's a little padded with SJW stuff a bit. Van Sciver said Mayer pushes a mainstream right-wing agenda in my and in my personal life, so do I. And both sides of the fence troll each other. Political views are so polarized these days. The culture is becoming toxic on both sides. See, that I agree. That's what Van Sciver is saying that diversity in comics says, and that's what he does in his comics.
Exactly.
He's trying to point out the extremes and say, like, hey, we don't need to be this extreme. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure diversity in comic is married to like an Asian woman, and he has like half white, half
That
Asian
doesn't
kids.
matter. Still a white supremacist.
He's also like a veteran. Like he was in the Gulf War and shit. And like now he just wants to read comics and review them and gets picked on for this. And it's like this guy actually fought for us. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, look how long BuzzFeed just has to go on and on.
We're almost at the end, but yeah, this has been a long article.
The fuck up, BuzzFeed.
And it's been mostly bullshit. Like,
but that's the thing, right? Is that the truth is actually quite simple. It doesn't take much to explain the truth because we often see the truth. The truth is substantiated by reality. When you have to bullshit, you have to make all this elaborate shit up so you can make this connection to that thing and that connection to this thing in order to make it sound like it's an actual story. But this is all fucking nonsense. This is a non-story.
Yeah, it totally is. And if you're reading, what's funny about reading this is she's quoting both sides. And she's quoting both sides accurately. She's not skewing what they're saying. But there's still a bias in her part of the article, you know what I'm saying, of where she's reading, and she's pointing people out to be like harassers and evil. But when you read their quotes, you see what they're saying. It makes sense. And they're like, no, there's two sides to this. And really the person that she's showing to be the bad people seem to be the more reasonable ones. You know what I'm saying? Well, the other ones don't seem reasonable at all. And it's like, well, you're just making me reading this with, like, if I didn't have a bias, I would see the people she's pointing out as the bad people as being the reasonable ones. And it's like the only way you can read this and see it the way she's saying it is if you're on her side and agree and, and have that bias. So yeah, let's finish this up. Timothy Doyle, an independent comic book artist who has done work for Marvel in the past, told BuzzFeed News that this relationship between Van Sciver and Mayer feeds a loop of harassment. Until Van Sciver started pushing diversity in comics on his social media, they had almost no presence, which is bullshit. Diversity in comics was big before Van Sciver. I'm just tired of seeing friends of mine in the industry get beat up online. I don't like bullies. But they're bullying too, so you gotta, you kind of got to see it from both sides. There is, however, a growing backlash to Comicsgate among some women writers who have suffered through previous harassment campaigns. Speaking up like this is a rarity because doing so is widely seen in the comic book industry as an invitation for harassment. Many people use abbreviations of Van Sciver's name to slow him finding their posts. Oh, so they're trying to secretly post instead of writing Van Sciver, they write VS or something so you don't find it.
Oh my God.
A number of these figures spoke up after AO's run in with Van Sciver. You know what's a better way to do it? Just not talk about him.
Exactly.
If you don't talk about him, you don't give him attention and nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Hellbound Heathen? What's up, Golden Owl? What's up, Travis?
Hey.
Sorry, this article is going so long, but it is kind of interesting as well.
Don't apologize. Let's just
And writer Rosie Knight has also called out Van Sciver's use of Nazi imagery. Here it goes again. It's like guilty by association or something, right? She said he and his trolls/fans have tried to harass me off Twitter. Are they trying to harass you off Twitter, or is it you almost going off Twitter because they were fucking harassing you? I don't think they were telling you to get off Twitter. To no success so far because she uses blockchain technology to block followers of abusive accounts. This is her tweet. Why at DC Comics hadn't already cut ties with Ethan My Struggle Van Sciver is beyond me. See, she's engaging in the same kind of behavior she's complaining they are. She put My Struggle in quotations in his name, like trying to point that, he named that because he's a Nazi, But after the way he's harassed Daryl over the past weeks in cahoots with renowned comics racist DNC, see, calling that guy a racist. Do you see that? They need to finally take action. It's honestly vile. EVS is an abuser, harasser, and a Nazi. Harasses people of color, uses Nazi language and imagery, associates with Nazis. Guess what? He's a fucking Nazi. Oh, and preemptively fuck BC if they quote me in their next EVS isn't a Nazi article. You see, you see what I'm saying? How they're engaging in the same thing they complain about.
No, stop it.
Fucking ridiculous. Calling this guy. Now, meanwhile, he has Jewish kids, as he stated, right? Knight, who was targeted during Gamergate, had some words of inspiration and advice for people who are suffering from comics gate harassment. The best way for me to deal with trolls was to block and move on. I've had bare run-ins with even Ethan Van Sciver, and guess what? I'm still here, still making comics. Well, yeah, that's what you do. Ignore it. Big deal. All right, that's the end of that. But yeah, it's kind of funny, right? How these people basically act in the ways that they are complaining about, and then they call the other people the harassers and the bullies. I mean, at worst, they're both harassers and bullies. But at best, I think that it's really the other side, that the people who are calling the other people bullies, that are the actual bullies. Like I said, those guys saying that they were going to meet him at Comic-Con and beat him up, and they're constantly calling this guy a Nazi, the other guy a racist. And it's like, they're neither of those things. If you keep calling these people that, there's no wonder that there's people coming at you and bitching at you on Twitter.
Hey, roommate.
Yeah. What's up, dude?
Yo, you got that do you got that cash on you or no? You want to still go half on that thing?
Maybe. Give me a minute.
Yeah,
that's me.
you can mute. Go do your thing.
All right. Yeah.
I can like talk to them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
All right. What's up, chat? Intruder alert, man. This guy always just barges in and is like, yo, it doesn't matter what you're doing, Alfie. I'm just going to pop in here and start talking some shit, talking some cash business, talking some secret shit. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Talking about Dash Money. What's going on today? We're talking about, I don't know, Brian. It sounded like it was a weed deal, didn't it? But who knows? Diversity, everybody. There need to be more brown and black people everywhere, even if we run out.
Yeah, Mark, it's not easy.
Oh, hey, you're back.
Yeah, what's up? And what's up, Mark?
Yes. I was talking about how we need more black and brown people everywhere. Otherwise, if there's no black or brown people, even if they don't want to do whatever the thing is, you're racist.
No, you got it wrong. It's not that we need more black and brown people. It's that we need less white people.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the true meaning of diversity.
Less white people and less men, more women.
Yeah, less men. Or at least less.
Honestly, I just don't think that's a good plan.
But that's why I say I'm ruining everything. They're ruining
bitches
everything.
Ruin everything.
I don't realize that, like with the whole Ghostbusters thing, right? Like, all right, people were upset in the beginning of turning them all to women. That's understandable, but it could have still been a good movie, right? But then you watch the movie and it's just really not funny. It has to do with, this way too much references to them being women. Like, we don't need all that. That undermines the plot. Really
I just... You when you're watching a movie, you don't give a fuck if the character is a female or male. What you're paying attention to is like the struggle that they're going through for whatever difficulty they have to deal with as that character. That's what the fucking point is.
Like I had this conversation with Laika on our stream, and I was saying she was asking like if I really needed somebody to see someone like me on the screen, because she thinks there's nobody that's like her, so she never had anybody to look at to say, that's who I'm going to look up to. Even she looked up to other people. Same thing with me. I didn't need that either. One of my favorite heroes growing up was Ellen Ripley in Alien that Sigourney Weaver played. She was one of my favorite characters growing up. I thought she was awesome, badass. She didn't need to be a man. Oh, Wonder Woman was a TV show when I was a kid. Loved that show. I looked up to Wonder Woman. She was an awesome character. Bionic Woman was another one of my favorite shows. I liked Bionic Woman more than $6 Million Man, which $6 Million Man was the first one. And Bionic Woman was like the female version of him, It was like she was like his cousin, and she became bionic as well. And then that was
I
was a bigger fan of Bionic Woman.
I have Bollywood films, and I don't relate to a single one of those bitches. Not at all. I don't hide behind trees when I'm in love and like pop out and start singing you songs. Like, What?
One of my biggest banes growing up was when my mom would have control of the TV and we had to watch Spanish shows and shit. I couldn't stand that shit. They're so bad. They're so soap opera-y and
I
stuff.
know what you mean. Indian dramas are the same. Like if the characters are so over the top, and it's just like, oh my god.
And then you want to talk about any race not having heroes. The one that has the least is like Hispanic people. Like I can't even think of one like American like Hispanic hero. Like I can't think of one, and I really don't care. Like it doesn't bother me at all.
I wouldn't give a shit either.
But even growing up, I had like Asian heroes from like kung fu films and martial arts movies, and then you know, black heroes from like blaxploitation films like Shaft and shit like that. You know, and even Night of the Living Dead. One of my favorite heroes of all time. One of my favorite characters is Ben from Night of the Living Dead, which we still have to watch.
That motherfucking Zorro.
Motherfucking Zorro. Good point. Zorro
Yeah.
Mexican. But I didn't like Zorro, so I guess that doesn't count for me. Lame. Those shows were lame. Those old Mexican black and white shows, so lame. But yeah, we still have to watch Night of the Living Dead. Ben was one of the very first lead black roles in film, and is one of my favorite characters of all time in a movie. So we definitely have to see that.
Yeah, okay. I'm down.
Yeah, I didn't need him to be Hispanic. You know, he's a black dude, and I related with him. You know, and that's kind of the point. We're all humans. We don't need to see someone who's exactly like us to relate to them. We don't even need humans. We just need human-like attributes. You know what I'm saying? Like you can relate to a dog in a cartoon movie because you know they act humanistic and they're humanized, and you can relate to that. You can relate to an alien. You can relate to a fucking talking mushroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just similar human character. Like once you start seeking things past like human to for similarities, obviously with friends and shit, it's different. But on a wider scope, you're already fucking. Why are you playing that game? Like you're gone past the point of no return where it's not even necessary.
Yeah, it's the same thing with games too. You just said game. It's like it's the same thing. Some characters in games aren't even human. They're a ball that talks or something. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, how can you say that you can't relate to things because they don't look like you? It just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, somebody said Alf the dog fighting channel.
I know, I'm seeing that in the back right now.
I really laugh because the dog is fighting. It's so much fun. Oh, now she's scratching at the door because my roommate's in the bathroom. She's like, "Come out and pet me." Did it again. I heard her go. Like she's staring at the door. Look at it. Look, you saw it?
Yeah, I see.
He's like, relax.
I have my thing frozen on you, so I can just see you right now, and I've been seeing the dogs playing back there for a few minutes now.
Oh, I've had it frozen on me too. Oops. Everybody's been looking at me.
No, that's okay because my camera's not on anyway.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess that's good.
Totally cool.
I guess you guys can look at my magical face.
Yeah, there it is. Oh my god.
Was that a tap or a Nazi salute? Oh, good thing I don't live in Scotland. Right there.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we could talk about that a little bit. Would you mind?
No, not at all.
Count Dankula.
I can't believe that.
Well, we made that video with Jay, and I brought up that I think people are overreacting a bit. But I understand the fears, and I do understand the reaction because it does lead to terrible things. But the big main point for Chris was that this is Scottish law, and a lot of people in England are reacting as if it's English law. And they're acting like, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that anymore, and it's not true.
But they do have like similar, like
they are similar
limits, like the way the limits are imposed upon speech. Obviously, like that. Yeah. What was the thing I read out yesterday that was like improper use of technology to spread hateful messages or some shit?
Yeah, it's like an intercommunications law. But the thing is, this is not new to England. England has always had a big ban culture and a big, you know, like speech against speech culture. They do have free speech in a sense, but in terms of like digital communications, they have laws against that. There's also like in the 80s when I was growing up, I remember this because this was a big thing that was happening in England. And as a horror fan, when I was a kid, Margaret Thatcher was the PM at the time, and she had banned a lot of horror movies from England.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that people couldn't buy them, it was that they weren't allowed to be aired in theaters. So you actually had to buy them, and some of them weren't even able to be banned. But this was called video nasties. That's what they called them, and it was basically videos that were nasty, right? And so anything, so like movies, some of my favorite films like Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those movies were banned in England for till like 2001 or something. It was like from 79 to 2001 or something that the video nasties was going on.
Yeah.
So so that's why I'm saying it's nothing new. Them banning things and them you know, basically telling people they can't say certain things is nothing new to England. They don't have that constitutional freedom of speech like we have, you know. Like I don't know if Canada has it. Actually, you guys might not have it. Like
I think we have very similar, like we don't have free speech like America has free speech either. Like there are certain limits. There's definitely like an anti air quotes hate our speech code that is like, you can't, like, it's fucking stupid, right? So basically in your private it's like in your private conversation you can say some pretty like disagreeable shit and you can voice your opinions in the most honest fashion, but if you're in public and you say the wrong thing, like if you talk shit about Muslims, you'd probably get in shit.
Yeah, Mark was saying the same thing. He says we have hate speech restrictions. We do too, but it's very lenient. I think you guys have it way worse. I think you have it to a slight extent. Well, you can't really like go around shouting racial slurs at people and stuff. You'll get in trouble for that. But if you're just speaking and say a racial slur, like in form of the speech, you know, you're not gonna get in trouble with that.
Yeah.
But also with the whole thing of England is these people not being allowed in was Lauren Southern and Brittany Pettibone and the guy that she's with. I forget what her husband's name is.
I don't know either.
That was something that I think was overblown as well. I really didn't care about it. Like I was just like, yeah, well. And again, it's nothing new for England to ban people. It's happened a lot.
But here's the thing, right? The funny thing is she's for somebody who wants border control, right? So that applies to everybody. If a country does not want you to enter and they don't want you there, guess fucking what? It's their right to do that. They don't need to explain it to you.
You may be
and if you give them,
but you're not British.
Yeah, she used that as a reasoning. Did you watch that little thing that Jay had posted? I think yesterday we were all kind of watching it. She was sitting there whinging about how, you know, I'm just a girl who's coming here to see her friends. Like, no, bitch, you're an opportunist. You're just gonna stir up shit. Like, it's okay. Like, your principles are only principles unless they work against you, right? Like, otherwise you lose complete objectivity. And it's like, why is this happening to me? I can't believe this country's not letting me in. Well, they don't want you in. And you identified as Pakistani, for fuck's sake. Like, you don't lie on government forms or like troll government forms or whatever.
Also, she didn't take it seriously and then was surprised when they turned her down to enter. And it's like, well, you didn't take it seriously. On the paper you wrote you were Pakistani and this and that. And it's like, if you're not going to take it serious, why did you think that they would let you in? You know what I'm saying? You're being a jerk, you know. I understand you're being funny, whatever, you know, but if you're going to do that, you have to understand that there's a chance you're not going to get in because you're being a jerk, you know. But England also has a long history of banning people from entering their country. You can look it up. You can look up the ban list. They have a very large ban list. And they were calling to ban Donald Trump, right? The public was calling to ban Donald Trump from England. So why are you surprised? Like, I don't understand how these people are surprised or make such a big deal. And I was telling Chris yesterday in Jay's video that I saw a couple of English YouTubers posting like, oh, my country's scary now. Thank God I'm moving out of England, or I want to move out of England soon. And it's like, it's not happening in England. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Stay in England and make sure it doesn't happen there. How about that? Make sure that the Scottish ruling doesn't pass over to you, you know?
So fucking stupid.
Because there is a precedent set. Like, if it happens in Scotland, like UK law is all encompassing, but Scotland does have its own laws under the UK blanket. So there is a chance that they can use this Scottish law that happened to turn it into a UK law, you know.
Yo, is that a Super Mario question mark block on that door? That's dope.
Yeah. My ex-girlfriend painted it, but I liked it so much I didn't take it down.
That's so cute.
Down, but I liked it so much I left it there. And I left it. It's on the bathroom door, and I always found that funny.
Totally don't need to.
Yeah. I always found it funny that it's the question mark block on the bathroom door. So I never took it down.
That's
I like
super cute. I like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
And it's strange. This is the problem, is that, again, with the extremes, is that, and the reactionary culture, is that things have become so reactionary. For every little thing that happens, it's like, oh, blah 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 blah. You have to react. You have to react so hard and opposite to it. And it's like, no, we don't have to do that every time. There's actually probably a happy middle for everything. You know what I'm saying? Instead of
people don't seem to want the happy medium, though. They want the outrage and they want the ridiculousness, because it's fucking crazy and fun somehow to them. It's like, not over actual important issues we're having huge fucking arguments over. Like, we need to figure it out in the common, measured way.
Yeah. And
I know it's a little boring, but there's a lot of shit to be reactionary and outrageous towards. Like, this is not it.
Things don't happen fast in the US, and we can never come to agreements and stuff, is because things are so polarized.
Yeah.
And it takes so long to make any change. And it's because there's always, it's either my way or your, or this way, and that's it, you know? And it's like, why can't we meet in the middle and find something that makes everybody happy, you know?
Not even just that. Why can't we calm down enough to have an actual conversation?
Yeah, at least that's the problem with the whole gun control thing. It's either these people who don't want any change at all, or these people who want to change too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's no middle point when it's like, hey, why don't you guys? They won't even discuss it. You know what I'm saying? They want so much that they won't even discuss it, and anything that gets discussed, no. And it's like, dude, just meet up and discuss it. There's obviously a problem. Let's find out what this problem is and see if we can come with a solution that everybody can agree with, you know?
And the more important thing is not how one side feels or the other side feels. The important thing is what at this point in our civilization is better for everybody on the whole. What is better? What is better?
Yeah.
Is it better to have that everybody has the option for abortion, considering not everybody is ready or prepared to have a child when they are, and blah, 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 all these reasons? Or is it better not for people not to have the choice? Like, I mean, it's pretty simple when
well, to me, it's simple, and it's like, yeah, give people the choice. But if that is such a polarized issue, why not meet in the middle and try to come up with a compromise? Maybe we can vet people who want to get abortions and make sure they're getting them for the right reasons, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, something can be done. There has to possibly be a happy medium, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe, we don't know, if it's for rape, oh yeah, then let them have it. Or, you know, if it's for this, then, you know, if they're just 3 times they've come for an abortion, they're not stop having sex, then yeah, turn them down, you know, or something like that, you know?
Yeah, here's the thing, Mark said this. You won't get change with social media where you get high fives for being a reactionary dick. That's the negative side of the internet, is that it's very easy to get. Like, confirmation bias is so easy.
And that's what do you call that when you get positive attention? Yeah, I guess that's what it's called, right? Positive attention. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, that positive attention, when you get that, it's pleasing, right? It sets off your serotonin levels. You feel pleased. So people do things specifically just to get, you know, pleasurable responses. So that's like, you know, they react really hard one time, they got a bunch of pleasurable responses. Now every time something happens, they're looking for that next thing to be
like, exactly.
Oh my God, you know, and overreact to, so they can get more positive responses.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just say the thing that gets them the most attention, or the most, again, positive attention or agreement, as opposed to like the most uncomfortable part for me was like talking to people who I never agreed with.
Yeah.
I don't need to, like, when I wanted to get on with, like, get an internet brawls, the last thing I want to do is talk to somebody I agree with. Obviously, I'm going to seek out people I don't agree with so that my actual points can be argued, or because I think you're a fucking idiot and you're wrong and this is why. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, you're never going to be able to test your own ideas unless you do it with people who don't agree with you. And, like, you have to do that. But, like, people like Ask Yourself, for example, who are just surrounded by people who want to suck his dick all the time, because the other aspect of this whole thing is, like, moral grandstanding. I'm fucking morally superior to you because I hold this position and you don't. Right? That's another thing that prevents people from actually looking at whatever they believe in objectively.
Yeah, it's true. It's also a problem. It's also the YouTube, like, celebrity, I guess you could say, has kind of held sway on people and has changed people's personalities. That's what we were talking about last time we streamed, about this whole debate culture. But it's also, there's a lot of people who emulate them, and with a lot of them, it's hard to tell which ones are sincere
Mm-hmm.
and which ones do it for the views and the money and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, here's one person I think is not sincere is Andy Worski, and I've gotten this because of what he does now. Because he wasn't like this before, right? He made videos before. He cared about topics, and he made. Well, I don't know if he cared about those topics. To me, I think he didn't, and I think he followed a trend. That's what I think, because he seemed to be passionate about it, and then all of a sudden he just dropped everything he did for this live streaming thing. It's just basically internet blood sports, right? That's all he cares about now. What happened to him making videos fighting against social justice causes, you know, and shit like that? That's all gone. It all went down the drain when he found out he can make crazy super chat money when he
exactly
live stream drama.
And he doesn't like, I'm not a big fan of people like, yeah, there may be one or two issues I'm on the fence about, but generally I have a side that I've picked. You know what I mean? And like the easiest way to get attention from people and to have them like you is to not exactly hold a strong position. That's a really easy way, right? Because then you will have more people who are with you because you're not fucking taking sides, and you're open. Like, people believe you're open to their ideas because you haven't picked a side. Right. So
it's so weird, and that's what Andy Worski's doing now, right? And it's just he's kind of put himself in the middle, and he's just watching these two sides fight all the time, and he's not picking a side, basically, right? He doesn't call out the other side when he's against it. He just lets them two fight, and he laughs and collects his money, you know, like.
And then there's JF, fucking idiot yesterday, who's like, oh, you know what? Fucking Dankula made personal attacks against me, so fuck him. I'm glad he went to jail. Tweets about it, says it's a fucking joke, and then like tweets another couple things, and I sent him 2 or 3 eye rolls yesterday because I was just like, dude, you're just a fucking idiot. You're sitting here whining because people had shit to say about you because you were dating some 19-year-old autistic girl or whatever the fuck.
Or low IQ, as he says it now.
Yeah, like, it's so fucking stupid. He is such an idiot.
When he says, Count Dankula. I do not like him, Count Dankula.
And then, oh my God.
He dies in jail.
Fuck that guy, because like not only did he talk shit about Devin and was like, yeah, I like AIU, but you know, because of the limits of his brain, he's not really going to come up with anything brilliant. Like, does an analysis on Devin's video about the whole Christina Rad and Lawrence Krauss thing, and doesn't even finish the video where Devin concludes his whole point and says, yeah, what Lawrence Krauss did to that girl was totally appropriate. Based on the story. He's just a fucking moron, man.
Yeah, these people are ridiculous. Yeah, that guy's dumb. I remember, what was that? How did he get popular? It started off with with Destiny, right? Is that the thing that started it?
Yeah.
And everybody started liking him, but I didn't know who he was, so I was like, whatever.
Destiny is a bit of a creep. I don't like that guy.
But it was all about race realism, right?
Yep.
Weird.
Race realism is a redundant term.
Again,
it's people's inability to cope with fucking reality. Like, there are, like, Dusty is someone else who's
he's
such a fucking tool.
He's so much worse. Like, I didn't think he'd get worse, but every time he does get worse. And this whole thing about race is a social construct. What about social constructs are real? Like, what about them are
exactly?
We use terms to categorize things that are real, you know? Like,
all we do is label things that we see in the world. Okay, yeah, you know what? Language is a fucking social construct too. Doesn't make it any less real.
Exactly.
I mean, like, race, we refer to race as like a cluster of phenotypic expression that a particular set of people in the human species exhibit, right? Like black people's black skin, like, we don't just call them black because they appear black to us, but it's also because there's like genes that express themselves a certain way to produce similar characteristics in all these people. There are clearly fucking races, and it's like, okay, you're gonna say there's no race, but you're gonna start your sentence with white people.
Yeah.
So if there's no race, why are you even classifying white or black or anything at all? Since race is a fucking social construct.
Yeah, that's why they totally defeat their own arguments,
Yeah,
right?
it's so stupid. Like
What
they
was
do
I
this
saying?
with everything.
What did I say before to Devin that everybody was like, "Oh man, that's a good point," and now I don't remember the point I made. It was
From
about
this morning.
transgender people. Oh yeah, it was about the whole thing of if gender is a social construct, then why does it matter if people call you a man or a woman?
Exactly.
Then why do you
Because they know it's
call you a
not
woman?
true. It's not true. They do fall under their own arguments. And you know what?
Yeah.
Like yesterday, were you there when everything happened with Alex in the AIU Discord?
No,
Like,
I wasn't.
like she gets pissed off at me and says that I'm invalidating her fucking existence when I clearly explain. I'm like, listen, scientifically, you are a man. You have a penis, but in our personal interactions, I will refer to you as she because that is what you feel like, and that's fine with me. But don't expect the world to conform to you.
Yeah,
Because you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. I like how far does it go? How deeply do I have to participate in your fucking identity to make you feel comfortable with yourself? Like, no, get the fuck over yourself.
That's why I told you I would have said, well, now I'm never gonna call you a she.
Yeah, like
now you
fuck
just
off.
ruined it because it's not. It's odd to be like, I want you to call me a she, right? And then somebody says, all right, I'll call you a she. But then that's not good enough in your mind. No, I want it to be that in your mind, you see me as a woman and that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's not good enough that I'm calling you a she out of respect because I respect you.
Yeah, and that is like a perfectly reasonable response to something as outrageous as, I exhibit male characteristics, but I'm a girl, so please call me a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, and like, how is it not like how? And I always ask, and I never get the fucking a direct answer to like, how am I invalidating your existence or invalidating your feelings when I just said that in our personal interactions, I will refer to you as she, but don't expect me to think you're actually a girl. You're a guy.
Yeah, I don't get it. And it's like, if you want people to call you things, you should be respectful to those people. If you earn someone's respect, they'll treat you the way you want to be treated. Right?
Exactly.
But if you don't earn their respect, too bad. You know what I'm saying? You know what happens to people I don't respect? I call you asshole and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Fuck pronouns. I call
But these people are just like, I just find it so incredibly fucking obnoxious that you want to create your own social rules. Like, the reason things are the way they are is because they generally operate a certain way. Especially amongst large populations, you see trends. So we should just ignore the fucking trends because you are part of the few people that like happen to fall outside of those trends of like what females and males generally do and generally feel like and generally have as body parts, etc., etc. Like, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna like change like reality because you feel uncomfortable. And I just think that's such a way of infantilizing and making people babies. No, bitch, you buck up and deal with the reality. I am not coming down to your level because you're not ready to meet me here yet. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And honestly, I've had people call me she by accident and shit like that. I don't get upset. You know, I don't get mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially people from like from foreign languages. Sometimes they confuse the he and she, and they'll call you a she or a her. I don't get upset about that. You know, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't even, half the times I don't even correct them. I just let them keep talking, and it's like, whatever. You know, who gives a shit? Identity is not that important. It doesn't invalidate your existence for people to not accept your identity. It's just not that.
But it is really
important. Isn't what you are, it's who you are.
But it is really important to people who haven't a developed character. Who just haven't gone through difficult shit and who like don't want to go through difficult shit to fucking build some goddamn character.
It doesn't matter to me. Like, it doesn't make me feel good if you acknowledge me as a Hispanic or a man or a 38-year-old. You know, those are just things I am. But when you say things to me that like, oh, Alf, you're funny, or, you know, oh, you know, you have a good personality. Those are the things that feel good to me.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems like these people don't have something like that. They don't have a good personality or something that or
That's what I'm
are
saying.
funny. So that so they have to use something else to make them stick out and get positive affirmation from people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use that. And then if people don't take that positively, it's like, well, that's all I've got. You know what I'm saying? You have to accept it, and because it's all I've got. If you don't accept this, then I don't exist. And it's like, no, that's retarded to me. Just because people don't call you a she, you don't exist.
Yeah,
Like,
that actually that shows a weakness in your fucking personality and character, not mine.
You're still human. You know what I'm saying? Like, people aren't saying you're not human. They're just not accepting the viewpoint you have of who you are.
It's like that job shit, right? Like people are like, oh, well, people hire more white people than they do black people or this people or that people. It's like the people who think that black, white, red, green, orange matters when they're hiring someone and not if they're actually capable of doing the job. They're the fucking racists. They're the people who have the problem. You're either good at something or you're not. And if you're fucking not, then get over it and stop making it everybody else's problem.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And honestly, myself, I've always been the kind of person who doesn't really, you know, you can't, anybody who says they don't care at all what people think of them is bullshitting, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure, yeah.
But I do have a low level of that. I do care to a certain extent what people think of me, but it's very small. I really don't.
Very small, yeah.
When I was a kid, I was like that too. I used to wear clothes that was ripped and dirty, and that was even before the time where it was like popular to do that. And my mom would always be like, "Oh, don't you care what people are gonna think of you? They're gonna think you're a dirty kid." And I'd be like, "I don't give a shit what people say, you know. I just want to go out and have fun. That shit's not important to me, you know." Like even now, like you've seen me, my beard gets out of control, and then I shave it, and then it gets out of control again. I don't care, you know. I go to work like that. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
See, I think it's a little bit different though, because I'm a girl. Like my hair needs to look nice. This is for myself though, not because I care about what other people think. Because I care for me. Like I want to look a certain way when I'm going out because it makes me feel good, not because I want other people to be like, oh my God, look at this girl. She's so pretty, or she's like, her hair's done, or whatever the fuck, right? That I don't give a fuck about. But like I do care for my own personal vanity.
But to a certain level, it does matter. Like, you know, if you were like in the business world, you have to look a certain way, you know.
Well, I mean, obviously, like right now, I care because I've like changed out of my gym clothes. I'm in a fucking lazy ass t-shirt, and I don't want light in my face, right? And like, I just don't feel like it, right? So
sometimes I don't turn on my camera because I don't feel like being on camera too.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the end, like I said, I go out even though, you know, like, remember in high school, people would get like a nasty pimple and they'd be like, I don't want to go to school. I wouldn't give a shit. And I'd go to school with a fucking huge pimple in my nose, you know, like, I don't give a shit.
I'm the kind of person that calls attention to those things. Cause if I get a pimple, I fucking hate it. And I'm like, oh, I have a pimple. I won't take selfies that day or like whatever.
And you know what? You're better off for that because once you point it out, people make fun of it less because it's already there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
If you try to hide it and be like the kind of person that's like sitting there like this and shit, people are going to make fun of you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to just is going to call even more attention to you.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Say you're transgender and you never mention it. You will get way less attention about it. You know what I'm saying? People won't bother you as much. You're not going to get all these fucking people harassing you or all that stuff. People are just going to ignore it eventually. And they're going to see like, look, this person's comfortable with themselves. There's no point in bothering them.
Yeah, exactly.
But these people tend to call attention to themselves and be like, well, I should get special treatment, or, oh, this person treated me this way because I'm this. And, you know, you're calling too much attention to yourself. People don't like that.
No, exactly.
There was that, do you remember that? This was like before Ben Shapiro was popular, but he was on some talk show with a transgender, like ex-Marine or something. And the dude was a huge guy, block fucking head, fucking huge eraser head motherfucker with no fucking... You know what I'm saying? Like neck and head, same fucking size.
Totally, yeah.
But with a blonde wig and with a cardigan and a dress, looked like a big muscular dude in a dress. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Ben Shapiro refused to call him her. You know what I'm saying? And he called him sir and stuff like that. It was like, no, sir, and this and that. So the guy reached over and grabbed him from the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Something.
Wow. I think I saw a clip of that actually.
Something a man would do, right? Grab him to the back of the neck and says, "You call me sir one more time, and you're going to be leaving the studio in an ambulance." And it's like, dude.
So basically, you're getting mad because you can't accept reality.
Yeah, Zoe Tur. Yeah, Mark told me.
Like, isn't that? How is it not? Like,
guess what? To me, that person just lost the right for me to call him or her.
Exactly.
Forever,
yeah.
that transgender dude is a woman is a dude to me, and you'll
Yeah.
always be a man to me because you did
Mhm.
the way you acted. You don't deserve the respect to be treated the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, not if you're gonna be fucking grabbing people by the
No,
neck.
Of course not.
Because you look
nothing
like a
that is-
man in a dress and you want me to call you a she. Like you
Yeah.
want me to violate reality to
Yeah.
comfort you. And I'm even willing to extend you that olive branch. And then because I'm acknowledging the reality of it on a talk show, you're gonna fucking do some man shit and then
Mhm.
expect me to go like, fuck that, man. Don't disrespect me and expect me to respect you.
Watching that when it first came out made me come up with the phrase that's like, you can't preach tolerance with intolerance. You know what I'm saying? If you can't accept what people view right now and you want to change what they're viewing and you can't accept that and you start being intolerant to that, you're creating more intolerance. You know, like that's just gonna do what's been happening for the last like 5 years, is creating this reactionary opposing culture, you know?
Yeah, and people think that they're in the right.
Yeah.
It's okay for them to use violence because you're like offending their identity.
Oh, Marina said I look beautiful today. Thank you.
You do.
I look beautiful in with my Frankenstein shirt. Well, I can rub his eyes. It's totally not my nipples. It's his eyes I'm rubbing because he's tired. I'm gonna get my video shut down for that. Overly sexual imagery.
Yeah, God. It'd be so rapey.
Yeah, and it's worse that they have people giving into them, and that's what makes them feel validated.
That
right?
just fuels the negative movement more.
And we all feel this because YouTube constantly gives into them, Twitter constantly gives into them, and there's no escaping it. If
it's not that
gives
Twitter
into them,
gives into them; it's that these people are now working for these companies, so they have a trust and safety fucking council, like a bunch of babysitters.
But that started from them giving into them, you know. They'd give into them, and then people would react to them giving into them, and it would get worse. And then there'd be two sides fighting, and then obviously the side that makes themselves feel more sensitive and victimized are the ones they want to help. You know, there's like, oh, these people are being victimized, so we got to help them. So why don't you come work with us and help tell us what's harassment and and threats and stuff.
Well, like offense is taken; it's never given.
Offense is not given. Yeah, that's something Sargon says that I agree with him on.
But that's just a very basic principle. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And like, if you're just somebody who can think about things, that should be very obvious, but apparently not.
You can tell when somebody means to be offensive, and
absolutely
most of the times people aren't being offensive, you know.
And you know what? I think like hate speech is very simple to define in the sense that unless it's inciting violence immediately, like, it's not hate speech.
No, it's not.
Because you should be able to say, man, I fucking want to punch that motherfucker so bad, and not get in shit because you're not going to do it. It relieves the impulse to do it, to be able to say crazy shit. You know how like jerking off or masturbating takes away the urge to have sex or rape? You know what I mean? It's like mentally masturbating and saying crazy shit and playing crazy video games and reading about crazy shit in comic books alleviates the impulse to actually act on it.
Yeah, expressing yourself in general does, even if it's an exaggerated expression of yourself.
Exactly.
You know? Like, I mean, if you're like, I'm not a violent person, but if I ever say, man, I want to punch this dude's teeth out so bad, I'm not literally saying I want to or I will do that because I'm not a violent person. But I will say things like that because that makes you feel better.
Exactly.
Just like they say, when you get hurt and you yell out a curse, that actually does stimulate your brain and make it hurt less.
Yeah.
Because it's a psychological thing, you know what I'm saying? You're outputting your expression of how you feel, and it makes you feel better, you know? And people should be allowed to do that. There was like the thing of you were talking about threats, that happens a lot, and I've seen that people say things are threats that are not a lot, and it is tricky wording. Because if I say, man, I hope somebody shoots you in the face, you know what I'm saying? That's not a threat. That's just saying
that's not the same as I have my buddy right here, and if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm gonna shoot you in the face right now.
Yeah. Now, if I said I'm gonna go find you and shoot you in the face, that's a threat. You know what I'm saying? Because that's literally saying. But if saying that I hope somebody shoots you in the face is not a threat, and that's where the wording can get tricky. And a lot of times people do say that to kind of be threatening, so that's where it does get tricky, you know.
And these motherfuckers on like Twitter and shit who are
Oh, you cut out.
Do you think it's a legitimate threat? Oh,
You
am
cut
I?
out for a second. Yeah. Say that sentence again. You
Oh,
cut out
I
like
was
halfway through.
saying, and these like bitches on Twitter or YouTube or like, I'm getting fucking rape threats and harassment and shit. It's like, if you think it's a legitimate threat, shut the fuck up. Go to the goddamn cops. That is exactly what they're there for. If you believe it's a credible threat, but you don't, obviously, you just want the attention for it. And now you're online like saying, oh my God, like, what happened with me and Mike, right? Like that situation was so ridiculous. I don't think his shit is like legitimate, but I'm going to talk about it. There's ways to deal with those things. I've been blocking him for months and months and months. And like he could have left me alone a million times, but what did I do instead of going to the cops, right? Like I'm just going to talk about it and be like, yo, just watch out for this person. Cuz they're just going to talk shit and like they think this is okay and it's just like it's not. But you don't need to like, oh my God, everybody, like, look at all the harassment I get. Look at all this. It's
And
like, okay.
That's another thing that gets tricky too, because there's some people who are legitimately getting harassed. And then there's some people who just see the wrong things as harassment. Like that article we were just reading, and they were trying to point the other guy as being the bad guy. But when we're reading what he was saying, it seemed pretty reasonable, right? It didn't seem like he was harassing anybody. So it was like, what? Like that one they were saying, they pointed the Comics Gate person saying, oh, please get that feminism and SJW crap out of comics and write stories. That's not harassment. That's legitimate.
He even said he would help him. Like he's like, do you want to do something together? Do you want to collaborate?
That time too. That's legitimate. That's respectful. That there's nothing harassing about that. Like, but these people take it as harassment, and then that ruins it for people who are legitimately getting harassed, because now,
that's what I'm saying.
Now when people are saying they're getting harassed, we're like, oh yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you just think it's harassment because there's so many people out there taking things that are not harassment.
And I was like, why are you telling me then? Go call the cops.
People saying they're getting rape threats from saying something like, you know, I hope someone rapes you. I mean, it is a fuck. Now that's harassment and not rape threat.
Or I wouldn't even rape you. Now that upsets them too, which was so fucking stupid.
And it's funny how they fell into the trap because he did it purposely to show that people call anything rape threats, even saying I won't rape you as a rape threat. You know, that's exactly what they did and fell for that for years. It was like 2 years later he went on that convention with that other guy, that fucking Thomas Smith or whatever his name is. I forgot. Oh, I hated that guy. His
oh yeah, Sargon you're talking about.
Pissed me off. Yeah, and he was saying, "Oh, and you guys are applauding this, blah 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 blah." Yeah, because it proved his point that people take even not raping someone as a rape threat.
As a threat at all. Like, isn't that a good thing? He wouldn't even rape you. Oh wait, so now you're offended because he wouldn't rape you?
I think didn't Sargon even say that the woman he tweeted that to didn't even have a problem with that and didn't say anything, and it was
he was just being a white knight or whatever.
It was everybody else on Twitter that took it as a fucking problem. And it's like she wasn't even bothered by that. Like she just blocked him and moved on and was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's people like him that are like, it's so strange that people will take offense for other people. Like,
I know, right?
And I do that all the time when people say they're offended for Hispanics or whatever, and I constantly jump in and say, I'm Hispanic and I'm not offended. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I get offended over?
Don't fight for me. It's cool.
Me though. I get offended when like the only person I get offended for really is like my friends. If they can handle themselves, but like Devin is one of those people because it's just like he eats so much shit for saying absolutely nothing hateful or racial or anything like that. And it's just, I find it so frustrating because like automatically people think that we share his views, right? So they think we're like mindless Devin bots, and they also think we're racist for believing those things. And it's like, we don't just believe those things because we feel those things. Like there are numbers and shit that give us just a better understanding of reality to make such assessments, right? But no, he's a racist. Like it just totally ruins everything. You can't acknowledge reality because you're morally reprehensible for something you're not.
You know what it is that people get really upset that he like blocks or bans them and stuff.
Yeah, I think
or any slight disagreement. So they think that he does that because they disagree with him. So like when we post stuff about, you know, Devin's our friend or whatever, and we'll talk about him, They'll say things like, "Oh yeah, until you disagree with him and he blocks you." And it's like, remember that guy tweeted that recently?
Yeah, I
He posted
know.
something and he said that to you, and I was like, "No, that's just you because you're a nobody and you're talking shit." So he blocked you. We've disagreed with him, and he doesn't get rid of us because we've done the thing you should do. We've made friends with him and talked to him over a long period of time before we try to disagree with him. No, well, not disagree with him on small stuff, but before we try to engage him on things that we think, oh, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, But if you're just some nobody on the internet and you're, contradicting him and stuff, he doesn't owe you any conversation. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know you. He doesn't owe you shit.
No, as far as I'm concerned, I take the same attitude. If you send me a tweet and I don't like it or I just don't want to talk to you, I'll just fucking mute you. I don't need to waste my time on you if I don't want to.
There's some weird sort of entitlement with people on the internet that they think that because people make YouTube videos or because people post on Twitter that they're owed responses and stuff like that. No, like everybody watching right now, I don't owe you shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm your friend and we converse. Yeah, all right. I'll respond to you and stuff. But if you're like some random person watching my videos and I don't know you, I don't owe you shit.
Exactly.
Those people that when I was arguing, when I was doing the videos about Ask Yourself and they were coming in here telling me to debate them, I don't owe them that. I don't owe him shit. I don't owe him anything from coming into the Discord and getting kicked out. We didn't owe him respect or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? You act a fool, you get kicked. That's it. Plain and simple. We don't know you. He was demanding an apology. Like, why do we owe you that? You came and acted like a dick. Well, no, you
exactly.
Yeah. And these people coming in here and asking me, oh yeah, well, debate us on veganism. No, I don't owe you debate. I don't owe you shit.
Yeah, and like
your response.
We are not in Discord to fucking fight with people.
No,
we're just here to chill and like hang out and enjoy each other's company.
I really hate that culture that's brewing out of it. Like
it
can be entertaining and I'll watch stuff like that, but I hate that everything has to be that. I'm
an intellectual, Alfie. Debate me.
Give a shit.
And if you don't debate me, you're not smart. Like fuck you.
And it's weird because I haven't propped myself to be a proponent of anything or to be an intellectual of anything. They're like, well, if you're so good, why don't you defend your stance? And I'm like, what stance? I don't have a stance on anything about veganism. Like, I don't have any stance.
Hi, Ticey. So I see your message.
And that was the point I made. It was like, I'm not a proponent of meat. I'm not going around telling people and trying to
hey, everybody, people. Go eat meat right now.
It's good for you. Fuck vegetables. Only
exactly.
Eat 10 pounds of steak a day. And that's it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're a fucking fag.
Otherwise, you're a fucking soy boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking cook, eat some meat.
It's just so retarded.
It's so weird. I'm not a proponent.
But again, it comes back to that like deficiency in personality or like something, because these people's whole identity is defined by one thing.
Yeah.
Their morality, their stance, it's all defined by this one thing, and they think they're morally superior. And it's just like, you know what, bitch?
And it's really their downfall. That's where they fuck up. That's what brings them down. Like that guy I told you about, I was arguing with on Twitter, where he was saying that he tried to compare it to child rape and shit. And I'm like,
you're like, are you going to talk to a child rapist?
Yeah, they were like, oh, like you wouldn't debate a child rape. I was like, why would I debate a fucking child rape? And then at the end, I was like, are you trying to say that those things are like equal? Like, do you find it equal? No, obviously they're not equal. Then I was like, then why'd you even use that analogy? Like, it doesn't even work. It's just retarded. So it's like they see it as the most harmful thing, but then when you bring up other stuff that's more harmful, then they change, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, well, then why are you using that as part of your argument, Yeah,
vegans are funny too, because it's like, oh, you care about the planet, right? Do you drive?
Who, me?
No, not you, but like that's always my question to them. It's like, do you fucking drive? Oh, I drive like a V8 SUV. And it's like, you son of a bitch. You're going to bitch at me for eating meat, which has caused us to, they say that eating meat is what contributed to the brain size growing so exponentially for a certain period of time in our evolution, right?
We don't even know if it stopped. It might still be helping.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're overeating now, so that might be a whole different problem.
Exactly, but I mean, you know what my point is here, right?
Yeah.
It's just like they like, oh, some of the arguments that come from them, you know what I mean? Like human beings don't need meat, blah 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 blah. Okay, well, obviously there's a degree to which we do. I mean, it's a source of this and this and that. And like, if I like eating meat, like if I just like it, that doesn't make me some kind of like ethically abhorrent person because I like to eat meat and it's something that we've been eating for a long time. Like, but they don't accept that as an excuse. You're okay with animals dying? Well, you're doing the same thing if you're driving and you're putting pollutants in the air and shit.
I bet some of them wear clothes that are made from countries that abuse children and
Exactly,
wear
but that doesn't
sweatshops.
fucking matter, right?
Yeah, they don't do that. The driving thing too. I've brought that up in arguments, and they'll say, "Oh, but it's a necessary evil" or something like that. And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still a necessary evil that you can minimize to the smallest extent." You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying about carpooling and stuff. You can carpool. You can volunteer to carpool your coworkers, so there's less cars on the road and less animals getting ran over.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like people who send a tweet from their iPhone bitching about how capitalism is a piece of shit, and it's like, you know, if you had to buy clothes, if you had to buy certain food and certain products where there wasn't some like child labor assumption involved, you'd be paying way more and you wouldn't even fucking have it. So you benefit from certain fucked up things. We all do. And it's just something we kind of have to accept. Doesn't mean we can't like, you're not morally inferior because you enjoy something or because you want to save a little bit of money. You know, we all fucking do. And it's stupid that they don't admit it.
And they're telling me that he was saying that I abuse and kill animals, and I was like, no, I don't. I've never killed an animal unless you're counting bugs. I've never killed an animal.
You're personally responsible for all animal deaths because you eat chicken breast.
They always have an excuse for the arguments. There was a whole thing about, I was saying like roaches, and I was like, well, if you go into a house and it's infested with roaches, right, you would kill them, right? And he was like, oh yeah, but that's invasive or something, invasive species. So I was like, all right, well, say you moved into it and there was already roaches there, and he's like, what am I moving into an abandoned house? Remember I told you about that?
Oh my god, I remember.
I was like, dude, this dude has never lived in the ghetto. Like, this is a privileged person who's never lived anywhere where they had to deal with shit like this. Like, I've moved into places as a child that was infested with bugs and shit, you know? And you know what you do? You kill them. You fumigate your home and murder them. Because that's what you do.
Okay, Alfie, I need to take a shower because I think we're going to stream in like 55 minutes. Are you heading off? Like you're going to work or what?
No, I'm not going to work, but I'm going to get off too. I got to eat and stuff like that.
Yeah, go eat. That was fun though. We should do a couple articles a week or something because I kind of like going through those. That sounds so fun.
I'm done with that. We should
Yeah, I'm down. Thanks for hanging out, chat.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, are they talking to me?
Yeah, I was saying thank you.
Yeah.
Went over saying thank you. Yeah. I love hanging out with you. We have a great time.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you too. It's always a blast.
It's always nice.
But thank you for coming on with me today.
For sure.
I had no guests.
Yeah.
Well, I was supposed to have Aiden, but he's moving. So
you know, we'll get him soon. We'll have to do another big one.
He's excited to reschedule, so it's not like he was backing out because he wanted to.
Well, he's just a little stressed out.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to move, man.
For sure, man. And he's moving far too, like farther than just like the Aimee Show.
Well, thanks everybody for coming and watching us talk bullshit and just bullshitting in general.
Love you, Alfie. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.